panel. We made it happen. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Thank you for the super chats and the likes. And looking forward for the comment section and see how this is going to go. We will be back tomorrow with episode 150 of Open Discussion, Science, and more. This has been for you, Jose J.G. Gonzalez. Boom! Oh, Alan Evans, he have the after show. Alan Evans, I put the link again on the YouTube chat. And once you go live, I will share it with my subscribers on the
I am
post.
live
So
now.
look for that. Look for that notification on the after show. Thank you, Tweet. Thank you, Etine, Amy, everybody. Otra vez. Boom!
Boom.
Oh, I see smoke.
Adios,
It's not on
amigo.
pause. Thank you.
You did that
Otra
before, Jose.
vez. Otra vez.
You done that before, Jose. Remember, there was one
Yeah,
time you did it
right.
before. You just done a big long pause, and everybody thought that it froze.
They was frozen.
That is
And
a
then
classic.
you see like the listeners walking in the background, like this is
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
like, what the
yeah,
hell?
yeah. That was classic. Yeah, that was
Yeah, we
fun.
are.
man.
And
It's like the X Factor.
There's me trying to talk to you all, and I'm flipping muted. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
I got to get them, and I've got to get them, and I've got to remember when I'm streaming, I must mute at the microphone, not at the Meets app, because
Are you up live?
I'm streaming now, so.
Oh, so we can start swearing now, Alan. Can we start swearing and cursing and insulting people?
Fuck you.
I would prefer to keep it polite and clean, but you know, as I'm not
quick question.
monetized.
Why did Flat Earth Data rejoin and then leave again? Did he just join just to do the summary? Because I thought he was going to come back and...
Yeah, probably did.
Because he's gone off again now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he left
You would
again.
think he would get laryngitis from all the screaming.
Well, yeah. I mean, I missed that bit. As I say, I couldn't face it because it was getting very hetty-fretty.
Yeah, but he'd destroy you, Toady, in a debate. He's just
probably
it's
not.
just his attitude.
I think probably not.
No,
Not
no,
many people would
he's
destroy
the
me in a
one-
debate.
Oh, did it?
He's the one that refused to debate me.
No, well, he was on it. Oh, Travis, you're
Okay.
You're making noise.
Hot
Tell
mic.
your logistics manager. Yeah, tell your logistics manager to turn off the radio. No, he would though, because he is very good. He does know his stuff, but unfortunately, he does lose the plot. It doesn't take him much to lose the plot, but he knows his stuff. He was on Steve McRae's and all that kind of stuff, and he wasted them. They ended up insulting him and taking the piss out of him, the usual tactics, but he wasted them. You know?
I just shared the show. We got 20 people watching in your channel. Alan Evans, excellent. Chris Berry asked, who is Alan Evans and why is he streaming? Well, he's one of the panelists. And he decided to just take the stream and stream the after show because I wasn't able to do it. So thank you, Alan.
Can you post the link? Kudos to Alan Evans.
Yeah.
I'm going to mute Plain Truth because he's got a hot mic and I don't think he realizes it. He now realizes it. He's muted himself.
Do we need to leave here to go to the after show, or is it?
No, we are in the after show now.
You need to leave.
Okay.
You need to leave Schrodender. You have to leave.
I think the interesting thing is that Anthony has joined for the last 2 or 3 hours, and it just must be in the back of his browser or something, right? Because it's just been running there. I'm amazed he's not noticed it.
He's probably listening though. No, maybe not.
Probably driving. He's probably got passenger.
Well, he may be trying to work out a simple math problem.
I think we had some topics he would have dived in on, Coriolis and gravity. I'm sure he would have interjected.
Time as an independent variable.
Hey, Cliff, did you say you're going on the show Saturday night?
No, tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they do a Thursday and a Saturday.
So I think you're up, Blue, aren't you? And Jose's up as well, right?
Yeah.
So both of you got invites on the show.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I was on first on the Saturday night, which is the bigger show, and then they invited me back for this coming Thursday.
Had some problems one of the times I watched it, like with the signal, which was a shame because I think they've got that hype guy at the beginning who's very good. DD, I can't even remember his name, but it's like Dawson, is it? Derek Dawson, something like that. Dark Dawson, whatever that guy. Then there's that
Dick
monkey
Dawson.
that's always throwing. Yeah, that's it, Dick Dawson. Then there's that Jim Bob guy. He's very funny. They've got that dead Kennedy guy.
Drunk Monkey is hilarious.
That monkey is
Jack the Drunk Monkey. He's oh my god, he's fun.
Hey
I'm
guys,
thinking about joining. I'm thinking about joining that Shield show, but I don't have too much to offer in there. Do you think I'll be all right in one of those shows?
Yeah.
Well, I
you'll
didn't
be
think
brilliant.
I did either, but it turned out that they quite enjoyed it. So
Yeah, if Cliff can pull it off, you can, Jose.
I mean, I think it's a good panel, right? And they go round, and you don't have to answer a question, right? Because they've obviously got a little signal thing that they use, don't they, for who wants to talk? You know what I mean? They're very clever with their technology, I think.
Alan wants to talk.
I'm fine.
Oh no, I think I was trying to get a word out edgeways, and I didn't want to overtalk people because I'm trying to be nice at the moment.
So was I.
Must be painful, Drew, sir. must hurt.
I was wanting to.
Yeah,
I
actually,
was more the passive aggressiveness coming from my lowland colleague over there.
I'm actually in a good mood. I'm just listening. That's a few quips that have come out. I must be in a good mood or something. Must have been that talk about light that Rumpus reckons he's an expert on, doesn't even know about light extinct. I can explain how they, windmills, and plus Bob the Science Guy totally deceiving people when saying that the gyroscope and an attitude indicator. And plus, we had Toady agreeing with him, saying it could detect the Earth spin. That is absolute bollocks, man. And if he can bring me a quotation, and you can shut the fuck up as well, because because you're nothing but a condescending knobhead. I'm telling you, a gyroscope does not detect Earth rotation. I would love to see. I'd love to see where it goes to quotation.
Allie, let me see if I can pull up a video or some information on a directional gyro, which we use in aircraft.
I said an attitude indicator. An attitude indicator.
Attitude indicator doesn't show. Attitude indicator doesn't show it. The directional.
No, of course it doesn't show it. But an attitude
indicator. It couldn't show it.
An attitude.
Let me finish,
no, because you're talking a load of shite again. An attitude indicator is specifically designed to show when the airplane is not flying level.
Allie, how many hours do you have?
It doesn't matter about how many hours fly. What the fuck? You don't even know how. You were agreeing with Bob the Science Guy with what he doesn't even know how pendulous vanes work. Allie, he doesn't even know what they're for. And he sat there. You must have agreed because you sat on your asses and said nothing.
Allie.
Not a thing. You sat there and let him spout that shit.
No, what he said is correct. That's why.
It's absolutely. Well, get me a quotation for that. Find me a fucking an attitude indicator
that says it doesn't.
All right, I will.
I will actually. I will.
Ali, you've had your turn. Just be quiet.
Oh, you shut the fuck up as well.
I was trying to say that a directional gyro has to be specified for which hemisphere it's going to be in and what approximate latitude it's going to operate at, because if it isn't balanced properly, it will precess due to Earth's rotation.
I mean, the whole point was Foucault used gyroscope and a pendulum, Ali, to show the Earth turns. Fact.
Okay, hold on.
Fact.
Foucault's gyro was nowhere near precise enough to show Earth turn.
Well, he absolutely did show it, which is why he used it and demonstrated it to the Royal Society, and he wrote a paper on it. Yeah, you can say what you like, right? And we have gyros now.
Jody, all right, Mr. Expert. Jody, what are pendulous vanes in? Come on, Mr. fucking Expert. What are pendulous vanes and what do they do?
Describe them. Part of some corrective mechanism within a gyroscope. I've got to go for tea, unfortunately.
So you don't have a fucking clue. So shut the fuck up about when I'm talking about gyroscopes, because you don't know. You've got an awful habit of butting in.
Down.
You've got an awful habit.
Ali, calm down.
Yeah. See you later, guys. Bye.
See you later, Tony.
we had this really shitty chat just there with Flat Earth Data, Ali, and we don't want more of the same. So when one person's talking, they can talk, and then you can respond to them afterwards. It's just that's how civilized debates work. Okay.
And bollocks is not an argument.
It is in Scotland.
So, I missed the first, I don't know, call it debate or hang out on Jose's. So was the argument that that pendulous vanes compensate for gravity in gyros? That's why they don't show any curve or anything like that?
No, the argument was nuh-uh.
Well,
evidently it was Ali in a good mood, is what it was.
Nuh-uh, it was not.
Actually, there is one point at least that Travis brought up that I wanted to address. There was talk about a barrel of water and how it either proves or doesn't prove that fluid dynamics works and the Earth actually would maybe have an atmosphere that follows it. Now, I have a bit of a problem with Travis's line of questioning that, because there seems to be behind that the assumption that we cannot make generalizations. And if you're actually going to base your logic on that, then you have to forsake the whole of science and things like thermometers, because they are based on the exact same kind of thinking. So when a flat earther criticizes an experiment that shows a globe point based on that kind of thinking, I'm thinking every single time, okay, if that rule is applied consistently, what happens? And quite often we find, okay, if you apply that rule consistently, science fails.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
I don't disparage or disagree with generalizations. I think that they are a logical and natural inference that we can make from information that we have. My question regarding that example with getting a drill and putting something in a bucket of water and spinning it is that you would have to demonstrate and show that at some point that water equilibrates and no longer resists the flow of the spinning ball, but actually remains in uniform speed, constantly locked in with it. And I don't believe that can be demonstrated.
I don't believe anybody that says that's exactly what the atmosphere does, though, Plain Truth. It's more complicated than that. It's not
correct. No, it's not.
Simplistic.
It's not more complicated.
It really is more complicated than that. So you're one quick question. I'm going to follow this up because I want to make my point, and I have spoken very little this evening. All I wanted to say is, if you talk about a flat Earth, let's just take that. You've got winds going across the flat Earth. And you've got multiple layers of winds going across the flat Earth. And some of that might be due to heat and convection, and some of that might be due to terrain, and some of that might be due to other factors like the moon and the sun swirling about in our atmosphere or whatever. Whatever arguments you want to use. These are all factors of effect that say it isn't just any one singular effect we're looking at in a complex scenario.
Okay, I have one question. Are the wind currents the effect of Earth's spin?
Not totally.
Okay, that still needs qualified. It's either yes or no, but not totally.
No.
No. Hold on. When you say not totally or it's more complicated than that, that's when I glaze over, because here comes the story that you can't.
That's fine. Your ignorance is your problem, not mine.
Right. That's a you problem, not an us problem.
And it's the same way, Travis, as you could go and look at meteorology, you could go and look at atmospheric dynamics, you could go and look at fluid dynamics.
Okay, let me just jump back.
If you bothered to read any of that, then maybe you'd understand why we're making the arguments that we are.
Okay, when I challenge Coriolis and I say that the Earth's atmosphere is not uniformly locked to the Earth's spin, when I deny that, and then you say, well, you can do this experiment. You can put this ball in a bucket of water and spin it around, and that's what's going to happen. And then when I ask you for clarification, you say, well, it's not really like that. It's more complicated. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
You're going from the macro to the micro. It's a bit like saying, gosh, look at this perfectly smooth pebble. Isn't it perfectly lovely and smooth? And I go, yeah, that feels really smooth. Now I start to zoom in on that, and I'm using a reasonably powered microscope. Actually, it doesn't look that smooth. It's kind of pitted and bumpy. Then I use a more powerful microscope. And Christ, there's great big crevices and valleys coming up.
You know what the problem is?
So on. So that's the difference when we look at scale. In a general sense, and I'm going to finish my fucking point. Yep, in a general sense, yes, the atmosphere moves with the Earth.
Yeah.
But fine, you go on.
It's not as simple as
the problem. Yeah, the problem.
I'm fed up with people just not having the manners to wait. That's what I'm fed up with.
The problem with your difference is you can demonstrate zooming in and showing me that there's texture. You cannot demonstrate the Earth spinning. You can only postulate and tell me a story.
No, we can show you shitloads of evidence that we accept that you don't, and it's called all the evidence that we've got from space research. So that we accept, you don't. Your problem, not mine. Fed up.
Travis, this is, I know you don't like this, but this goes back to I'll say again, your sense of entitlement. You think that things should appear a certain way.
John, shut the fuck up. This is about the 4th time you've done this to Travis.
You guys are so...
Yeah, well, let me finish.
Come on, no, I'm not going to. I can't sit there and listen to this shit again.
Well, then leave, Ali.
You've
you cannot listen to it, then leave.
No, I don't have to leave. I can still interrupt.
And you don't have to shut other people up.
No, I can't. I'm going to do that because I just got shut up by Laurie.
Then I'm going to shut you up.
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Come on,
Ali. If you've got something to say about what I'm talking
I know what
about,
you're going
then,
to say. You've
then
done
do
it about
it.
4 times to the guy. You've said it
No,
about 4 times to that guy.
If you've got something to say, Ali, do it when I've finished talking.
It, but you've got this entitlement thing. Why the fuck do you keep saying that?
Yeah, Ali, if you've got something to say,
said that 4 times
if you've got something to say, then do it when I've finished making my point.
Repeat.
The universe isn't under any obligation to make sense to anyone.
Ellie,
that's my...
Ellie, take a deep breath and just read what I've got presented on the screen about directional gyros, will you? And let these guys talk, and then you can come back.
I was talking about an attitude. I was talking about an attitude.
Attitude indicator gyro rotates in the wrong direction, nitwit. It will not show Earth's rotation. A directional gyro will not. Read it. Read it.
It would. Hey,
read it.
If it spins in the opposite, if it spins,
it spins in the wrong.
If it spins in the opposite, listen. If it spins in the opposite,
you don't know anything about this, Ali. Read this thing about directional gyro.
Ali, chill out. Ali, chill out.
What happens if I'm heading in the direction of the rotation of the Earth? It has to. If I'm heading east or west, it has to.
The attitude indicator doesn't give a shit about that, Ali.
Well,
it doesn't care about the rotation of the Earth. The directional gyro, the heading indicator, cares about it. Read it.
You have just said that the attitude indicator spins in the wrong direction of the rotation.
I didn't say that. I said it didn't spin in a direction where it can register the rotation of the Earth. It is not designed to do that.
It would spin.
It's not designed to do that. It is designed to look at the attitude of the aircraft, not the direction, not the heading. Look at the heading indicator. That is the thing that will be affected by Coriolis, and it is the thing that is affected by Coriolis. Read it right there on the screen. I don't. Do you want me to read it? Can you read? Would you like for me to read it to you?
What does an attitude indicator do? What does it actually do?
An attitude indicator gives you a relative indication of the pitch of the nose and the wing position. That's all it can tell you.
When it's off level flight, yeah. when it deviates from level flight, well,
when it deviates from level relative
show
to
if it went
local
round-
gravity,
so if it went round
relative
the-
to local gravity
Tom,
where the plane happens to
so-
be, Allie,
so-
and that's
no,
the purpose of the
no,
pendulous
no,
veins.
no,
You have
gravity,
nothing. You have no idea what you're
you don't
talking
even know,
about.
you don't even know how an active indicator works. my
Yes, I
friend.
do,
No,
Allie.
What's the purpose?
No, you don't.
What's
No,
the
you don't.
purpose of pendulous veins?
Pendulous veins are to bring or to maintain the gyro in a level plane relative to local gravity, the local gravity vector where the plane is.
So what would happen if it
Chris,
didn't
let
have
me
pendulous
answer. Wait a
veins?
minute. Let me give the proper answer.
What would
Let me
happen if
give-
it didn't have
let me
pendulous
give-
veins? You would say
Let me give the proper answer, Chris, I'll
Huh?
give you the proper answer. And the proper answer is the pendulous veins is correct for any vibration that inside the cockpit, any magnetic field.
That is
come off the
bullshit,
upper-
Allie. That is total
Is that-
bollocks. That is
Citation
absolute
required.
horseshit. You
I-
bring
the
up any. You have nothing you can
to.
show that says that, Allie.
Yes, I
Nothing
do.
ever says that. Show it. Get
Yes,
it on
I
the
do.
screen.
It
I've
is
got the
called-
information on the directional gyro on the screen right now. Get
Citation
something on the attitude
required.
indicator.
I'll give
Show
you
it
the
to
name
us.
of the book. I'll give
Show
you the
it
name
to-
of the book.
I don't-
I'll give
you
you the
don't-
name of the book.
You
And the
don't
name
have
of
the name of a
is
book,
The
Allie.
Pilot's
You don't have Jack.
Handbook.
You got your dick in your
The
hands
name
is
of the
all
book
you
is
got.
called- The name of the book is called The Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. There you are.
Yes. All right. Read it.
No, I did read it. You go and find it your fucking self. You think I'm going to go
All right,
to your
no, you go and
find-
get the citation. You say it's there. Go and get it. I don't know where to look for it. You go
I've given
find
you
it.
the book. Google it.
It could be that he can't read.
PDF. Repeat what I said and then put PDF on the end in Google and you'll get a download for it.
Why don't you do it and put it on the
It's called
screen?
I've got it downloaded on my computer. I've read it.
Okay, open it up,
From
pull it
start
out, and show it to us.
Fucking finish.
Show
Every
it to us.
damn fucking page.
I'm calling you a lying son of a bitch, Allie.
Call me
Pull
a
it
liar,
out and show it to us.
It's called The Pilot's Handbook of
I know
Aeronautical
what I
Knowledge.
heard what the name of it is. I'm saying you were a
Yeah,
lying son of a bitch.
Yep,
Put
good
it up
for
on
you.
the screen.
Yep.
You've never read such a thing.
I have so.
If you
And
did, you didn't understand what the hell you were reading. You misread it.
Well,
You don't know what it
you
says.
go and check. That's fine. That's fine. Big Blue, you go ahead.
Get it
You
on
go
the
ahead.
get it on the fucking screen, Allie.
Get it
Or
off
shut
your
up.
big- Get
Get it
off your
on the
big-
screen, or get you, or shut the
Get
fuck
it
up.
off your big hairy chest, my friend. Go on.
You're a liar, Allie.
That's it.
Period.
Yep.
Wait,
That-
I don't have a lot of time. Can I just get a couple questions, a quick conversation in with somebody? So what happens if the gyro doesn't have pendulous veins?
What you would see over time, that thing would maintain its position in space, and what you would see is it would misrepresent the pitch of the airplane.
But why?
Because we're flying around a curve. That's why.
Right, because it would process.
Yeah, but gravity.
That's not really precession. That's not what precession is. It wouldn't process. It would maintain that set wherever you had it set. It would stay there. As you
It would
fly
drift
around,
in relation to the plane.
yeah,
Oh,
it's not gonna. It's gonna. As you fly around east to west, if you flew north to south, wouldn't do anything. If you fly east to west, it would constantly show that the nose is pitching up, which is not true. Look up how pendulous veins work.
I know how pendulous veins work.
I
But
don't
anyway,
think you do, Allie.
Montreal.
Show me
another-
your question.
That
Give
was
me a
another
citation. Show
example
it
of
to me.
double
You
speak
don't have a clue what you're talking about, Allie. Go get your citation. Mine's up on the screen. Tell me when you're done. Well, tell me when you find it, and I'll take mine down, and you put yours up, and show me where
why
it says
don't-
what you said it says.
Why don't you just type into the search bar there?
Why
the
don't you
pilot
do it? You say you've got it on your computer.
of
Pull it up and show me the
aeronautical knowledge,
paragraph.
PDF, and go to the section that deals with attitude.
Because it's your claim, Ali. That's why you're
No.
making the claim. You provide the fucking evidence.
if
you
you
can't
want-
be asked
if
to
you
find the
want to make-
evidence,
if
it's
you want
not
to
up
make
to
a
us to
debate,
do it because
if-
that's what you guys do to us.
if
So
you
either
want
put
to-
up
if-
or shut up.
If you want to make a debate about it, go ahead and find someone to make a debate about it. But don't fucking tell me to
You've
go and
read.
look.
You
for
think you've
books.
read in
I
one
tell you
book.
what, Ali, shut the fuck, Ali.
I read the
Shut
whole.
the
I read
fuck
the
up.
whole-
Shut the fuck up, Ali.
Right.
You
do know
are
what, Ali?
talking out of your ass.
I am certainly not.
Yes, you are.
So, do you know who Frederick D.
Right. So
Braddon
that's
was?
1, 2, 3 people that are fuckwits on this panel.
Great. Your
Anybody
opinion
else
comes
want
along.
to attack it?
So,
Allie, I've got
I haven't attacked you, Ali. I've basically just made a very, very basic point.
You haven't even looked.
If you're making an argument and you're making a claim and you're asked to provide evidence, it's not unreasonable for that expectation to be made. I don't know why you are being so obstinate about this. It seems to be a problem for you.
Give me the name of that book again, Ali. What's the name of it again?
The Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, and you'll find it under attitude, under the index, and it'll come under attitude indicators.
You're about to get this shoved up your ass.
Yeah, good for you.
Ali,
I've got
right now would be a real good time for you to be quiet.
No, Bob. No, Bob. You misrepresent.
Because you are wrong.
No, you're wrong.
And
You're wrong.
Blue is about ready to shove this up your tail.
Right.
Yep.
Big Blue.
Right now, you need to stop putting out bitter words because you're going to have to eat them
Bob,
very shortly.
You're passive aggressive. I read the book, mate. I've done more than what you do. You've represented the gyroscope totally wrong. A gyroscope and an attitude indicator is specifically designed to show the gyroscope and an attitude indicator specifically to show when a airplane is when it's not flying. Well, that's fine. Resort to that childish tactic. That's fine. You just look stupid, not me, mate. Acting like a kid. It shows
how many people on this panel can fly an airplane?
When it goes nose up, right? So it'll tell if I was going
how many people on this panel fly an airplane?
If it was going round a curve, it would register the curve. That's the whole point, and that is a mechanical device specifically designed by man to show when a plane is not flying straight and level.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and look up. I'm going to go and look up a guy called Frederick D. Braddon.
You just go ahead and do that. Did he invent it?
Was the guy who invented it.
Lovely.
Let's see what his patent says that the invention is for, shall we? Why don't we do that, Ali?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Have you done that?
No, go ahead. You do it. Why don't you do it?
Hey, Blue, do you have any sand that you could use as lube when you finish looking that up?
I don't want to abuse the poor man. Ignorance is not something that should be punished. It should be corrected.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
How about willful ignorance?
Oh,
willful ignorance should be punished,
worse.
yes.
Yeah,
and I think Big Blue's about ready to do that to him.
Yeah,
do you remember what website you looked that up on?
What website? I just Googled it. Well, actually, what you can do is if you go to archive.org and just type that in, the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, go to archive.org. They've got near enough every book. You'll find it there.
What chapter?
The chapter on attitude indicator, flight controls, I think it comes under that one. It's got the magnetic compass and all that as well in it. It's got everything you need to know. Everything you need to know about it.
This at least calls for Tabasco as lube.
I would agree because, this is the thing that really bothers me about flat Earth.
This is live.
You have actual experts on this panel that know these things, and somebody who is freaking clueless is arguing with them. And it just blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably like, Bob, when someone shows up at your office with a WebMD article that they printed out.
But at least they actually read something, and I can discuss it with them. And they'll listen to what I say.
Blue's realised that I have read this, right? Because of the fact, as I said, it'll be under the chapter instrument panels. How would I know that if I hadn't even looked at the fucking book? You numpties. Oh, here we go.
Looking at a book and understanding a book are two different things. And you clearly don't.
It's written in English.
Where is it, Allie?
If I'm a monkey, then you're a roach.
Attitude indicator.
This is flight instrument.
Here we go. Where am I? Flight instrument.
Is this where you read this?
Go for it.
Okay.
Keep going down. Scroll down.
You tell me when to stop.
Whoa. Go up again. What was that? This is a thing. What's that? Down? Is that
I feel like it's Christmas morning.
I can't see. I can't. Why would you think, is that the altitude indicator? No, well, it's the attitude that's down there. Keep going. It has a part on it. It tells you
Talks
about
about setting the altimeter. Okay.
Yep, keep going, keep going.
Talks about types of altitude. Do you know the difference in?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Keep going, keep going.
Okay.
The attitude
okay.
indicator is what we're talking about. That's irrelevant. I'm talking about that. I was called a clown, a fucking liar, and everything.
Well, you're a clown and a liar, but
wait a minute, wait. I keep going.
Oh, you want to talk about the vertical speed indicator or what?
No, it's the attitude indicator. Keep going.
Oh, the attitude indicator.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The barometer?
Can you do a Control F or something and search for it?
Yeah, you
I want Ellie to pick it out.
Oh, yeah. I'm sat. Listen, there it's there, but I'm sat about a meter away from my computer, and I'm half blind. Nice one, and it's a little square screen.
You're half blind. How the heck you know the Earth is flat if you can't even see the horizon?
Yeah.
Here's a blurb. Here's a blurb about an attitude indicator, but it's talking about electronic stuff here.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll tell you how it gets affected. Keep going. It tells you how it gets affected by magnetic waves, the instrument panel, the precession, why it precesses, and all that as well, and what the pendulous veins are for. I had a guy in a hangout, and he educated me on, and he took an attitude indicator to pieces, and he was a ball earther, very nice guy. He's called Fact Based Living. Go subscribe to the guy. He's a ball earther, but he's really, really clever. Really, really clever dude. And he actually, that was his job. He used to repair them, these attitude indicators. And he contacted me. He contacted me by email. I had a debate with Flat Earth, Fight the Flat Earth, and he was screaming at the screen at the two of us. So I invited him on. I said, "Oh, cool, man," and invited that Fight the Fat Girth on as well to come on a hangout. And this guy was going to presentate. He was going to take it to pieces.
I think it was right there, Blue.
Yeah. A guy said a thing, therefore flat.
What are you talking about? No, wait, no, at all. I don't get that. What was that in relation to? Are you drinking? That's one thing you need to watch with your new job as well. You can't fucking drink, and you need to stop coming to these hangouts, man, as well, Cliff.
Why do I need to stop coming to these hangouts?
They'll think you're fucking mad. Well, if you're doing a job, you've got a civilian. You were talking about security clearance and stuff like that, mate.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Thank you very much.
No, I'm just saying. Oh, well, I'm just fucking saying, man. If you're going to take your job seriously and stuff like that, you know, you couldn't. I wouldn't. I'll tell you what.
Now, this is the time where he's politely asked you to fucking drop it, Ali.
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Who am I? Right. The information that you'll find, Big Blue, is in that bit about the attitude indicators that you found.
Right, I'm looking at it right now. You show me where it is. It doesn't say a thing about it in this publication.
All the stuff it was saying about the fact that gyroscopes process with the rotation of the Earth, where it said about sort of 2 pages earlier.
No, this is an attitude indicator to show that an aeroplane's, it's level.
But I'll be interested to know why you accept this and you don't accept that.
No, but right, okay, so right, fine. If you want to have the Earth, the disk is rotating, that's fine. If you want to believe in a rotating disk, that's fine. But that instrument there shows that aeroplane's not going round a curve. For the plain fact is when they take off, they fire the gyros up, and the gyro holds its position in free fucking space. That's why it's in a gimbal. So it's level there where it takes off. So when it lands, it's fucking level as well. And the gyroscope is in the same fucking position that it was when it took off.
No,
they don't seem to address the pendulous vein at all.
Now you can see, and it does so. The pendulous.
Doesn't talk about the pendulous veins in this. I don't know where you think you saw what you say you saw, but it's not here.
Hit Control F and just.
Wait a minute. What was this about that? I said that. I said the gyroscope accounts for the magnetic field of the instrument panel, and
what you said was the pendulous vein, vibrations from the cockpit, and magnetic interference from affecting the gyroscope.
I said, yeah, I said
verbatim.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. I agree with that, and that's what that does. Yep, that's true. But the gyroscope gets affected by the magnetic fields in the instrument surrounding it, right? You can say,
magnetic.
no. Well, it is. I'm sorry. Anything electronic creates a magnetic field.
It's not electronic. It's mechanical.
What's mechanical?
Gyroscope and an airplane. These ones you're describing.
Gyroscope gets affected by magnetic fields. Yes, it does.
No,
if you go,
even I know that. I'm not a pilot.
All right, okay. Google Skylab gyroscopes in space and go and watch a guy. Guy does a great shows experiments as they're flying across the earth and shows how it actually processes round and changes its orientation to go the magnetic field.
That's because it physically processes.
Yep, go up. So the higher you go up, the closer you're coming to us. But instrument panels create a magnetic field, and a gyroscope will get affected by a magnetic field. End of story.
No, they won't.
No, they don't, Allie. And there's no mention. There is no mention of pendulous veins in this particular publication.
It was about how when the gyroscope processes. There is a bit in there. I know it is. I know there is. That's
why don't you find it and show it to us then?
Well, I can't do it.
Why am I doing your job for you?
I can't, because you're obsessed, mate. You're driven by some hatred for
We've all tried, and we can't find what you claim to see.
The reason I'm not doing it is because I don't give two flying fucks. There you go.
I'm going to work. Have a good one, guys.
Bye, Carlos.
See you later.
Peace.
Now, Ali.
I'm obsessed.
Back. What the fuck did I miss?
I'm going to mute. I've finished my conversation.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, run, Allie.
I don't give a flying fuck. That's why I'm going to interrupt everybody and yell at everybody and curse at everybody and accuse them of lying. And but I don't give a flying fuck.
I didn't accuse
anybody. The correct thing to do would be to apologize.
Did not accuse anybody of lying. It was me that was being accused of lying. Barney, get your
Ali,
fucking facts.
you accused everybody of lying.
Ali.
I have not.
And unfortunately, I'm only a failed pilot. But I did used to teach principles of flights to the air cadets.
I'm just fly RC shit.
Yeah, and fly some RC shit.
Which I would say. Go ahead.
No swearing. Oh, so many times that Ali and the others say fuck. For fuck's sake, sorry about that.
Sorry, Jose.
Hey, Jose.
And Alan as well. I apologise for swearing and stuff like that, but I don't apologise for shouting. But I'll cut down the swearing, but I'm not stopping shouting when I get annoyed.
Hey, Jose. I was just thinking, maybe you should do a show just like out on the street, out in the sidewalk or something like that. Set up a table and everything, and just do a show out on the street and see how many people like turn their heads to watch.
Oh, dude, I can get a permit and do that here.
Wait, are you talking to Jose?
Yeah, he hopped in for a second. He may have left, but I just think it would be funny just to see what the reaction people on the street would be.
It'd like be the opposite of flat smacking.
Yeah, speaking of flat
like the Globe
smacking,
Live tour.
Yeah, speaking of flat smacking, would if any of you are so inclined, go to the channel Maryland Street Level and comment on her videos why she will not debate Schrodinger's cat.
I got you on that, bro. Have you guys seen the flat smacker group out of Chicago?
What's their name?
I'll have to look it back up, but I've thought about making a trip up there.
Oh, I wish I could find one of those groups locally.
So for those in the UK, and Dross may have dropped off, but they had Mark Sargent is in town because of course he's coming for the conference, and so he was in I think it was Dublin, though it may have been Belfast day before yesterday, and then I think he was in Cardiff today, and then he was in one other location as well. So it was quite interesting. A lot of people turned up actually. It was quite an interesting show. They had Martin Liedtke on today because they were in Cardiff. But it was good to see Mark Sargent. He was engaging with people. You know, he's a very friendly kind of guy. He's got a very common touch. You know, I don't particularly like him, obviously, because of what he's saying, but he's You know, he's very good with people, right? You know, he's quite simple, but I think he's a good advert really for the level of engagement, because he's very polite. He doesn't get triggered or shout. You know, he debated with these people. It was interesting to see him in action.
And just for the shits and giggles, that's a link to the original patent for what an attitude gyroscope with pendulous vanes, as done by Frederick D. Braddon. So that patent actually describes what it's for. In great detail.
Grocer, you know, the one of those guys like me that just searches random patents for the fun of it.
Oh God! I thought I was sad.
Alan,
based
Evan,
on that,
really
who's
quick.
right?
Hey, Alan, you're doing really good. You had like 30 subscribers like 2 days ago, and now you're up to like 80 plus, and you got
Yeah,
like
I
40
know.
people watching. Good job, brother.
He's brilliant. Well, I think we had 60 at some point yesterday, which was great. On our
PewDiePie, watch out!
On our epic 6.5
Before you know
hour
it,
stream.
Alan, you'll be doing your own show. It'll be the Alan the Alan Globe show. Yeah,
Well,
you'll have
I
1,000 subs and videos every day.
I actually have a title for a show if you ever do one, and it's called Flying Below the Radar.
Alan Evans here, flying below the radar. Hit the super chat, guys. Hit me up. Like my video. Support me on YouTube. It's Alan Evans flying low. Was it flying low?
Flying below the radar.
Flying below the radar, yeah.
I find it
I have to give Alan credit where credit's due. He is behind the scenes helping me out with my live stream, so he does well.
I'm been quite amazed that I've picked up like 15 new subs in the last week, and I haven't done anything.
You're just engaging, Crash.
Yeah. I did upload that short video that has Spurs' name in the title just to piss Spurs off, but, you know.
Yeah, he was in Cardiff today as well. I just remembered. Somebody, it was so funny. This guy came back and said, "Oh, this math and this formula is all wrong, right?" They gave it to Jason, and if you know Jason of the Disbury family, is maybe not the most hot guy when it comes to maths. I think I'm trying to pick my words carefully. That I'm not, he's not a mathematician, right? So he takes these hand-drawn numbers that he doesn't know whether they're right or wrong here because of some observation that was in his leaflet, and he hands them to Spurs, going, "Oh, look, you can work this out, Spurs." It was classic.
No. Can you read this, Allie? This is a description of pendulous veins and how they work. Can you read it? I can read it to you.
Yeah, go ahead. Read it to me. Read it.
As shown on the image to the right, I think they're talking about this one up here. The gyro lies horizontal or horizontally, vertical axis in the inner gimbal ring. The outer gimbal is pivoted wingtip to wingtip and moves the background plate. The center of gravity of the gyro and pendulous unit is below the suspension points, thus making sure that the pendulous unit can erect and is able to keep the gyro in a horizontal plane. Got it? In a vacuum-driven attitude indicator system, the pendulous vanes at the bottom are used to erect the gyro. When the gyro is horizontal, all vanes cover their ports halfway so that the air exits all ports evenly. There are 4 ports, and opposite vanes are mechanically attached to each other. So you got 2 of them that are operating in pitch and 2 of them that are operating in roll. That's what that means. When the gyro tilts for any reason to left or right, the vanes of the ports fore and after will move and either close or open the port fore or aft. One of the air exits is then closed more than the other 3, and this creates a precession force which will try to erect the gyro again until the 4 ports have equal force. That's what it does. That's how it works. Do you have any other questions?
But that can't be true because reasons.
I know it. But I know how it works.
This is the directional gyro, Ali.
Yeah, but that's a direction. I wasn't talking
This is
about
the directional gyro. This is the read this. The heading gyro. That's the directional gyro. It's not magnetically stabilized or slaved. Therefore, it's called a free gyro and may drift over time, requiring periodic synchronization to the magnetic compass indication. Let me skip down here a little bit. The standard drift in degrees per hour can be calculated by multiplying 15. That would be 15 degrees per hour, by the way, times the sine of the mean operating latitude. The drift in a positive direction in the northern hemisphere and negative in the southern hemisphere. A directional gyro can be calibrated with an offset drift to provide less operational drift if it is known to always be used in proximity to a generally same latitude region. Got it? A directional gyro will show the Earth's rotation.
Blue, you're using too much lube.
Weird.
Great. Oh, God, you're fucking. What's this with this fucking homoerotic fucking shit you guys always going about? What is it?
I'm a gorilla. I get off on that shit.
Yeah.
Blue,
it was good for me. How did it feel for you, Allie?
Blue, was that a Tommy Lee Jones moment?
Worst version of that joke possible.
Sorry.
Don't forget to send me some flowers, okay? I like chocolate
Where
too.
was the magnetism and vibration in there?
That made absolutely
must have missed that part.
That made absolutely. What was the point you were making? I don't know. I wasn't even talking about them. So what point? Talking to?
Oh, you know? Okay, yeah.
So I will repeat what you said earlier about attitude indicators, and that's what he was showing there. The pendulous veins on an attitude indicator.
I know exactly what
which has fuck all to do with magnetism and interference. The only thing that it would do as a consequence of also doing the same thing is if it got knocked off center, it would then go back to normal because
you're a gibberer. That's what you are. You're a gibberer. You should be the monkey. You should be the fucking monkey instead of Big Blue.
I wasn't going to do this joke.
Why are you ignoring what the article says?
Holy cow, man.
Big Blue. No. What you've got to remember, the best lubrication is tears.
Yeah. That's use are weird people, man.
Ellie, you've tried this over and over again. Why don't you go get some actual literature and read it and try to understand it? You have ever since I met you, you've misrepresented this, and I know it's because you don't understand it. Look, I can even probably point you to some videos that you can watch that will explain this very, very in very much detail. Would you like that?
I just don't understand. I mean, like when presented with the facts, I mean, you should be saying, that's interesting. Instead, you're like totally disregarding it.
Allie, what is your benefit? Allie, what's your benefit in arguing with people who are giving you good information that actually know the information? What's the benefit you gain?
Just remember what I said, what pendulous veins, one of their functions is to correct for any vibration that the plane creates during takeoff or when it is flying, plus the magnetic fields around the instrument channel. Just remember that.
Except it doesn't say that.
You can talk away as much as you fucking like. Just remember I said that.
It doesn't say that, though.
The inventor didn't say that.
You know, I mean, you're being told this by
that's what
people who know what we're talking about.
No, but you don't. That's a totally denied a fact.
Why don't you take Big
Ali?
Why don't you take up?
Why
don't you take up Big Blue on his offer to give you links that will help you understand this, Allie?
I could educate you on gyro. I could educate you, Bob. You know nothing. You've made that stupid.
The problem that we're having here is the fact that we've demonstrated
the problem you're having.
Big Blue has demonstrated his claim. We've checked your claim and couldn't find those references in there. What conclusion are we supposed to make based on the evidence, Ali?
Well,
Why don't you just apologize and say you're sorry?
Bob? Why would I apologize?
Because you were wrong, and you were demonstrated to be wrong. So be a man and
Absolutely
say,
not.
"Look, I'm sorry. I think I may have made a
Bob,
mistake."
I don't care. We don't need an apology from him.
Remember the statement. Remember the statement that I made. Just remember that. The gyroscope gets affected by magnetic fields and the vibration of the airplane. Just remember I said that. That's all you guys need to remember.
Well, I'd like to remember one more statistic too, Allie. Again, I want to ask you. I want to ask you how many hours you have as pilot in
Or you
command.
can choose to remember what I told you, what the statement that I made.
No, can you answer my question? How many hours do you have as pilot in command?
What has that got to do with anything? Ask me how many hours I've been studying this.
I don't care about that. I want to know how many hours you have in an airplane.
It doesn't matter.
How many hours have you got in the left seat of an airplane?
How many hours have you studied, for example, quantum mechanics?
God, I'd hate to even guess at it, Allie, but it's more than none. It's more than none. How many hours have you got in the left seat of an airplane? Would that answer be none?
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think so.
There's little
Allie,
knowledge.
just stop and answer his question, please. The answer is probably none, and that's okay.
Off your penis, you little pervy bastard, right? And shut the fuck up. I'm out here.
Okay, so the ad hom and the name calling doesn't really do anything. Why don't you just answer his question honestly? If the answer is 0, that's fine.
Better leave, because what you guys are trying to do is you're trying to turn it into a shit show. I'm sure there's other
Just run away then, Allie. All right. Run away from being a man and just saying that you don't know.
That means nothing to me. I'm going away because it's better that I go away.
Yeah, it's probably best that you go away. All right. Bye.
I will say cheerio to any of the
I concur.
Yep, good. Good to have consensus.
Links in the chat, Allie, if you want to watch this video. Might straighten up some of these misconceptions you have.
I'm really sorry for the to speak for the Scottish component.
We all have that, Uncle, my friend. Don't worry about it.
I always needing a translator.
John, I was going to say, I had enough angry Glaswegian drill instructors during basic training to appreciate that that's average.
Well, no other nation needs to apologize. We have Nathan Roberts and Nathan Thompson.
Right. We're just double screwed soldiers.
Terry, I told you this morning I've got the posh accent.
So you think?
Okay, we're not all from the East Coast.
Blue, I've got a question for you. If you go into like a 10-minute bank turn, those pendulous bangs will actually make the indicator incorrect, correct?
It can do that, yes.
Yeah, because it corrects and it just thinks that gravity is pointing the other direction.
Yeah, it depends on how you've got, how coordinated you are in your turn.
I quite like the videos that Wolfie did when he took the artificial horizon apart and run from a Bell Jet Ranger. I believe it was that he had running on his desk and showing
Yep, he had an electric gyro. Yeah, that he showed that out.
Yeah, but that still had pendulous vanes, didn't it? I think.
Well, an electric gyro does exactly the same thing. It's just got little air cups in the rotor, which generate the airflow.
So my question on that is, some of the ones that I saw have steel ball bearings on it that fly out on like little pins, which I think probably does a similar thing. And then if it misbalances, it obviously corrects because it's got like these steel ball bearings. And I'm sure I saw another one that someone's done a video of, which had like magnetic tilt switches, mercury tilt switches, I think, in it. Yeah. Are there not a number of mechanisms then that these are used to correct, or is it always just these pendulous vanes?
I think I saw reference to the steel balls moving in one of the documents that was put up on screen earlier, but I couldn't tell you which one it was. yeah, anything that will add a precessing force to the gyro to tilt it back to gravity will do the job. So yeah, you could use a ball of mercury, you could use the ball bearings as well. What? Sorry, instead of.
And is that just to make sure that it's always propped up effectively horizontally because the aircraft is tilting around it, right? So it's to make sure it's always within a certain like, range. Is that what it does? Yeah.
We would like it very, very much if the attitude indicator was showing us what level is.
Yeah. But
with respect to the gravity vector where we are, we want to know what level is.
Yeah, that's kind of an important thing, isn't it, Blue?
Oh, I see what you mean. So effectively,
Normally.
the case is tilting around it, yeah? So if the thing inside is always level, then you tilt the case, so then you can see that you're tilted away. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, level's not confusing in the flat world.
Level's not confusing on a globe either.
No, it's
not at all
perpendicular to the gravity vector.
Well, that's
Correct.
what you just said though, Blue. You just said something like we got to figure out what level is.
No, I said it's handy to know what level is, and level is perpendicular to the gravitational acceleration vector.
Yeah, in your makeup la la world, yes, that's right.
Oh no, it's in my real world. I don't know how it works in your la world.
Right, because if you ignore what level is, you end up like JFK Jr. and die.
Ooh, yeah, that was bad.
Because you fly upside down.
And disable the pendulous veins and fly 300 miles and see what your attitude indicator shows when you look like you're flying level.
Now take a rubber stopper with you and cover that son of a bitch up because it's going to kill you.
Right,
But
there's
you
a thing
can
called
do first
vertigo.
day and survive, during visual flight rules, I guess.
Isn't that a U2 song?
But I mean, if you flew for 300 miles, you'd be several degrees off.
No, you'd be quite a bit off. Did you ever have an attitude indicator fail, Bob?
I'm still here, aren't I?
So probably not then, I guess. So I've got a question.
I've actually had
Well, scuba divers
I'm one of
are
these
taught
guys that's really strange. I got to have like 3 or 4 different backups. I don't like the idea of
scuba
partial
divers
panel.
are taught that when they can't differentiate up from down, then they pull their regulator out, and then they swim towards the direction of the bubbles.
So I've got a question on that, right? I saw this pilot who said that was all basically rubbish. He was a sort of, I think, a test pilot who did lots of Gs. He had this video, which was a very good one, and some of you may be familiar with it, where he actually pours, I think it's iced tea, into a cup while he does a loop-the-loop. Yeah,
A barrel roll,
carries
yeah.
on. It's a barrel roll. There you go. Yeah, I'm using the wrong terms. And it continues going into the cup, even though the cup and the liquid and the whole lot are going round. And he was basically saying anyone who says that you can kind of see which way whatever bubbles are going in something, or whatever, which way the water drops or whatever, look at your cup. That doesn't work because,
Well, that's
because of the
G-force.
reasons that he's just shown. Yeah.
But if
That's
you're a
an
scuba
airplane.
diver, you're not dealing with G-force.
That's a what? Sorry, explain that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear
the G-force. So as he's doing that barrel roll, the G-force is what's forcing that liquid. But if you're scuba diving, you don't have that amount of G-force.
Right, I guess he was probably talking about a situation where you're sort of spinning out of control or something. I guess, and there's probably a lot of G-force if you're doing that, I suppose. Because what I was amazed was that he was pouring the liquid in the glass and it still went in the glass, even though he was, as you say, sort of rolling. Yeah, and I was surprised that the water didn't, the stream of liquid didn't, subtend away from the glass, if you sort of, because he was obviously holding the glass in his hand or something.
The way that works is you've got to have a very coordinated roll. So that, and as long as you're coordinated, that's a 1G maneuver. You can do that all day long.
Yep.
So what? Just I've got this in my mind. By roll, you mean it's rotating along its long axis, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, longitudinal axis.
So it's not doing what I said. It's not doing a loop-the-loop. It's doing a roll around its longitudinal axis, yeah?
Correct.
Correct.
Then
Okay.
by coordinate, you got to apply rudder and elevator at different times to keep it rolling perfectly.
So he's pouring water into this glass, and you've got a stream of water that's obviously, starting it's perpendicular, right? It's going towards the gravity well. Yeah, and then he does this roll. Yeah, and it carries on going towards where it thinks is, I suppose, where the gravity well is. What? Because he's got so much.
Because he's ensuring that the acceleration in the aircraft is always at 9.8 meters per second towards the cockpit floor.
Straight down
Even
into
when
the
he's
seat.
upside down, the water
Yeah.
is still going
Yeah.
up. I mean,
because he has the cockpit floor accelerating in as if it were the right way up and
Right.
not
It's the same
accelerating.
principle as the vomit comet.
Yeah, kind of, maybe.
Is it?
Yeah, sort of the opposite, but
Yeah,
Okay, equal and opposite.
yeah.
Horizontal
Yeah.
centrifuge.
Almost. You actually.
Yeah, like a horizontal centrifuge. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, like my bucket
You have
with
to
water in the
remember,
bottom that I spin around my head.
You're not actually rolling the aircraft. The aircraft isn't actually rolling exactly along its longitudinal axis. It's rolling. It's flying in a circle around its longitudinal axis, like it was a corkscrew.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Flying in a
corkscrew.
circle? How do you mean flying in a circle?
Well,
Okay, imagine a big long pipe.
Yep.
Imagine a big long pipe in the sky, and if you put the top of the cockpit right underneath that pipe, and then roll it around the pipe with the cockpit towards the pipe the whole time. See how you'd form like a big corkscrew?
Yeah.
That's a
cockpit
barrel.
around.
That's called a barrel roll.
Oh yeah. I see what you mean. Yep.
That's a
He's
barrel
flying
roll.
along as well.
Yeah.
Right,
So
he's flying along as well. Yeah.
There's an aerobatic. There's an
barrel
aerobatic.
rifling.
Just a moment. There's a barrel.
The barrel of a rifle with the rifling of the barrel.
Well, an easier way of looking at it is take yourself a big, like a keg or something, and put it in a trough of water, and have a little mouse sitting on top of it. If you spin that thing around with a mouse on it, that's a barrel roll. See?
Bob, that is exactly my understanding of a barrel roll. I think you explained it really well.
Well, thank you. I got to go now. Bye-bye.
All right.
There is another form of roll, though, known as an axial roll, where you do not do that corkscrewing type maneuver. And there you would not be able to pour the water, or the coffee, no. You do feel negative. You do feel the inverted position. But
What's that other kind of roll? So you're not corkscrewing. What are you doing then?
You're staying right on that on the axis, the longitudinal axis, at the best you can.
Yep, you fly with the center line of the prop, to the center line of the fuselage.
Right.
Perfectly level, and it's a bitch to do.
So hang on, how could you do that without going forward? Doesn't the plane have to go forward to maintain its?
We are assuming the aircraft is flying forwards all the time.
Yeah.
Right, I can't imagine in my head how it could not be corkscrewing then. What am I missing?
It has to rotate simply around the longitudinal axis. That's all.
It's not a corkscrew.
All the rotation is right around the longitudinal axis. The corkscrewing maneuver, you are not. You are ascribing a circle around the longitudinal axis.
Yes. I might be able to explain this slightly better than Blue and Bob, just because I do precision. I used to compete precision aerobatics with the piece. In the axial roll, you have so much cross control going on to counter back the outside roll you would do during a barrel roll. If you watch the inputs on the sticks, they're entirely different to perform the same maneuvers that most people would call the same exact damn thing. So when I roll the plane, wingtip down, I have rudder and an elevator input to keep it on that axial roll, and then that input has to smoothly change as I go inverted, and you're constantly rolling the control. Run a barrel roll, I just snap full right aileron and let it snap around as quick as I can.
Right, so an axial roll. So I've seen it when
we call it top.
So I've seen it when jets go one above another. You know what I mean? They flip up, and you can see the two cockpits, like one's upside down and one's the right way up, and the sort of, not they're kissing, but you know what I mean? The two heads are like next to each other, yeah? That would be on their axis, totally along their axis, yeah? Whereas the other one you were describing, they're actually moving in a circle as well, of some dimensions. I don't know how big the dimensions are, but literally like a corkscrew. Someone's sharing something. Alan's Star Trails.
Oh, we call it top rudder in a real airplane too, Crash.
Yay! Something I was right on.
I'll have to go and look up the video again because it was pretty impressive. This guy pouring his tea or whatever it was and catching it. Well, not catching the cup. It carried on. So because I always thought on an airplane, right, you could tell. So when I've been on conventional flights, normal flights, right, nothing special, whatever you call them, sort of normal, just normal flights. I've often sort of dangled the cable down, I don't know, on my headphones or something to tell at what angle we're going up, because sometimes if you're not by a window, it's very hard to know if you're kind of going up or down. And that always seems to work when I do that. But obviously, I suppose those G-forces are not involved.
Hey, do you guys have you ever heard of the story about a Concorde going across the Atlantic and an empty Concorde, and the pilot thought, yeah, all right, I could roll this, and it did, with no warning lights or no alarms or anything. Have you ever heard about it?
They rolled Concorde?
Yeah.
I would expect it would be difficult with Concorde.
Tex Johnson rolled the original 707.
Yeah.
Did that as a demonstration.
Yeah.
There's nothing structurally impressive about that. The plane can handle it.
Yeah.
You just don't want it to stall, though, do you? If you're on something that maybe isn't really made to be going upside down, I don't know whether, like if my car goes upside down, it's got a cutout on it. I suppose planes are not that silly.
Actually, if you took your car across the gradient ramp inverted and could stay inverted, your car would run just fine.
Well, when I flip my car, and I flipped my car a few times in my life, it definitely
when you
cuts
flip
out.
your car in an accident, we have an inertial switch that cuts off fuel flow. But if you could roll inverted without tripping that switch, the engine would run along just quite happily.
All right. So how does the switch work, Crashes? How does it? So basically, I'll tell you what I did, and then you can tell me why it flipped. Yeah, I was going about 40 miles an hour, or kilometers if you're in, I suppose, the US. You don't use miles. So 40 kilometers an hour, let's say, but 55 kilometers an hour. And I hit some black ice, and then it hit the edge of a curb, and then literally I went upside down onto the sunroof, and then it kind of skid along the road. And all the time I was skidding, the engine had cut out at that point. And literally it was upside down on its roof. Yeah.
It probably flipped those switches because most of your modern cars will use well, now they're electronic. There used to be a mercury switch to shut off during an inversion. But when you hit the curb, we have a ball and ramp switch, which is literally a small weighted ball with a ramp. If you hit something with enough force, the ball will go up the ramp and complete the electrical circuit and cut everything off.
Then there's also the fuel system, but that should take longer.
So when I came, when I got out of the car, nothing was broken, no windows broken. I just had an upside down car basically on this ice. I called the RACR, roadside assistance guy. He came out and he knew to do something. So we actually re-inverted the car, and then to get it started, he had to press something or reset.
Yeah, there's a reset.
There's a reset.
If you have buddies that have late 90s to early 2000 Ford trucks, walk up to the passenger side rocker panel right where the fender meets the door and just give it a good kick with your boot and their car won't start.
Oh, terrible.
It's easy to reset. You pull the little trim panel off and there's literally a push button on the spring and you push it back down.
Damn, I've just realised that you're not seeing what I'm presenting, are you?
We were seeing a plane that seemed to be one way up.
Yes, you are, but you are seeing it, but nobody else is because it's not going out live. Let me just
fiddle with your OBS.
Let me just have a quick fiddle with my OBS, and
it's a good-looking bird.
Is there an easy way, Alan, with your OBS to have a screen that is like the one that you're kind of broadcasting to the world, and a screen where you can do your own private stuff that isn't going to dox yourself? Is there an easy way on OBS? Because I got OBS, right? Is there an easy way to set that up?
Yeah,
So you've kind of got...
there is, but as I hadn't actually set up to do this, and I had forgotten that meets is not particularly helpful about what it's showing me presenting.
Because the problem is, like, I've been on a lot of Hangouts like Ranters and that, and I start to get a bit worried that inadvertently you can get messages coming through emails and, stuff pops up, doesn't it, on your screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
That you can't always control. So I'm always a little bit wary. I just wondered if there was an easy way to kind of make sure you kept what you're broadcasting separate to your main stuff.
Yeah, I've been sort of doing something like that where I hide anything that comes up, like notifications and anything on my screen.
There is on the main screen on the display capture that you're sharing on OBS. You right click on it on your own time later. You can add a filter, and a filter is to crop. So you can minimize the window and put it in a corner of your desktop in the top left corner. I got it. And then crop that screen so you can present only that screen. And then maximize it. Maybe I'm not explaining it well, but you playing with it. Add a filter to the display screen, minimize it to a corner, and just adjust it so you can present that crop screen as the full screen, and then you can maximize it, but you got all the rest, 3/4 of the desktop mode or the desktop for you to play around, and nobody is going to see only the main screen,
So basically,
only the
what you're
little crop
saying is,
screen.
I've kind of got a window in the middle, which I know is my hot space. Yep. But all the notifications and everything else coming up around it, people aren't going to see, because obviously that's where all the good stuff is, isn't it? It's the top of an email, or it's the bottom where my icons are and my notifications are. I see what you mean. I'll play with that. That's a good idea. Yeah. So I kind of have a hot space in the middle. That's the dangerous bit that's being broadcast. Yeah. Okay. I'll play with that. Thanks.
Anyway, Toady, just so that you can see what an actual roll looks like. That's an extra 3. That's an extra 300.
Yeah. Is that the bottom or the top I'm looking at?
That is the bottom of the aircraft you're looking at. The shutter speed was pretty dang low. I think it's under 100. I think it's about an 80th of a second. The shutter speed.
And you still haven't got the what do you call them? The props shown.
The prop is the prop. You can actually just see the full disc of the prop blur, and the reason why the wings look all fuzzy is because you can actually see the rotation of the wingtips in that.
Oh, I see. So he's like actually in mid-roll. Well, in the roll. Yeah.
He's in the middle of a snap roll. That aircraft can roll at 540 degrees a second.
What? So almost not quite, but almost 2 revolutions a second.
Yeah, you can also see the amount of aileron input he's got in there, the amount of top rudder he has in there. That's a great picture.
Did I misunderstand the 500 and whatever? Sorry, Blue. I didn't hear quite what you said.
No, you didn't misunderstand. It is 540 degrees a second. It's
right. So it's like 1.5 then maybe is. I don't know. I'm trying to add up 360 plus whatever. But yeah, it's wow. It's more than one. Anyway, more than 1 a second.
There's no replacement for displacement.
Now, why would this aeroplane be able to roll so much?
It's 90 RPM.
90 RPM.
Well, because it's a competition. It's the world. It's possibly the world's best competition aerobatic aircraft at the moment.
That's an extra 300. Is that right, Alan?
Yeah, it's an extra 300 or 320. It's owned by it's operated by the French Army de l'Air.
It's been a while. I'm doing some filtering on a database so I can pull it into my map info. And I'm down to 1,596 active records for macro sites. Does that sound about right?
It's a 300S.
Yeah. Yeah, just ballpark. Yeah, I don't think I needed to get 100%, but I need to get a lot of them.
So,
I don't think I've got new builds in this currently. Let me think about that. Well, I could. I
think somebody.
I get rid of small cells. I only show macros.
And someone's at work. Right.
really
So I was
crazy.
getting very
Yeah.
confused there.
Yeah.
Because
Ken,
last
go
time I
on
went
mute.
to check it,
Yeah, Ken's at work.
Yeah, go on mute.
But
So my next question was: this is a prop, like it's got a propeller, right? So that's what drives it along. It's going round and round.
That's the blue disc going round and round at the front.
If you had a jet, could you not roll that more maneuverable than this? No, less maneuverable. So I've seen the red arrows, and I think they're jets, aren't they? I think they're jets. The red arrows.
But they're not competition aerobatic aircraft. This is a competition aerobatic aircraft.
Right. So this is a very special one.
These things are so strong that you can put a 15-stone man on each horizontal tailplane and have them jump up and down
Right, tough then.
without overstressing it. And if you could do it, and if you could tip the aircraft upside down, you could have them doing it on the bottom surface of the tailplane.
Oh, right, they are tough then. Where was this? Was it Duxham Air Show or Farnborough?
That was the Spring Air Show at Duxford in May of 2018.
Tony, you're in the UK too, right? I know Alan.
am. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
The RC Scale World Championships are going to be there later this year. If you want to see some amazing aerobatics, go watch those guys. Because they can do shit that would kill a pilot.
And what's that called? The RC... what was it? National...
Aerobatics Championships. It's the Worlds. It's put on by the FIA, and I'll get you a date the next time I'm on here with you.
Yeah, cool. Just share us a date and I'll have a look at that because I could take my kids along to it as well. It'd be fun to watch it. I quite like those air shows. I've been to Duxford and Farnborough, I think I've been to, and a few others, yeah. Some of the RAF ones they have around our base here because I'm very near to a couple of RAF bases. So, and I work a little bit with some of the forces. So, it's I get invitations to these things. It's always great to see tanks and planes, right? Planes especially.
If Kike Samanazzi is going to be there, he'll be doing his 3D aerobatics demonstration with his jet. That is amazing to watch.
Wow, he's got an RC jet. Ooh.
I have RC jets that are true turbine jets.
Oh, really? Because the RCs I've always seen, I suppose they're mainly those little, you probably know what they are, but those little motors, right, that run on, some kind of fuel, I suppose.
Nitro.
Yeah, I've never seen a jet. Wow.
How
would you put the fuel on the jet then? These must be quite big.
My small aerobatics competition plane has a 114-inch wingspan. That's my small plane.
Inches, hang on, 114 inches. Well, that's quite big.
That's just almost 10 feet.
Yeah, that's almost like a small one of those drones, right? It's like a small drone size.
Yeah.
I don't know, when I've seen the army drones, the smaller ones, because I've, as I say, I've been involved in some 3D modeling and stuff for them, and then I've seen some of them made up, and they're probably a bit bigger than that. I mean, they've probably got big drones as well, of course, but...
It's a 114-inch wingspan, and it's 160 inches long from the tip of the spinner to the tail wheel.
You must have a special vehicle for traveling around with that, then. Fit in the
Take
car easily.
Take the wings off and put it in the...
All right, they're detachable. Okay. Oh, wow, Alan, you got some... Oh, look at that picture. Have you enhanced that one? That one down on the right there, on the left, sorry. Second at the bottom on the view you just had. Have you played with the filter? So, down one, that's it. Second from the left, that's it. Across that one. Is that enhanced or is that natural?
That's natural.
You haven't enhanced that at all? You're not played with the colour?
No,
blue.
No, I haven't. I haven't screwed with the blue.
Wow, that blue is amazing. Look at that. What is that coming up from it? Is it?
That is
smoke. Smoke.
That's like a sparkler.
That's what I mean. I was thinking it looks more like sparkles than smoke.
It's got sparkle. It's basically got giant sparklers attached to each wingtip, which are
fantastic.
If I share a video link, can somebody present it?
That's been played with.
Some of these you played with like a cartooning effect, Alan, or something. Oh, well, look at that. That's amazing. Look at that. That's incredible. That's just amazing.
No, you can also see
so is that.
the.
That's just genius as well. Look at that one. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's doing an axial roll vertically.
Oh, these are good pictures, Alan. What lens were you using?
I am shooting with a Canon EOS 50D and a Sigma. On these ones, a Sigma 150-600. So
Canon what? Hang on, I'll just check what my Canon is. What did you say? You had a 50D? Let me have a look.
Yeah, it's quite an old one.
No, mine's not a 50. It's more of it's like 110 or something, an EOS thing.
Yeah, it's.
Yours is going to be a proper full frame SLR, no doubt. Yeah.
No, it's not. No? It's a prop frame SLR. If you've got an EOS 100D or 200D.
I think mine's hang on. Let me just check it. Hang on. 1100D. Yeah, 1100D is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's got a very similar sensor to the camera that I've got.
All right, so I need a good lens then. Yeah.
The lens. Before I had this, I had a 300D, which was the very first consumer camera, consumer DSLR that Canon released. Mm-hmm. And if I put a big L series zoom or telephoto on it, it would take photos almost as good as this.
And so, what lenses do you use? Do you use Canon lenses, or do you use a different make?
Like I said, I'm using. I use mostly Sigma at the minute.
Sigma, okay.
But it's. I can't afford a Canon 600mm, Canon f4 600L, because they are 12,500 quid.
That's what I mean. They're expensive, aren't they? So, is this the same lens that you're using to take the pictures of your star trails, or is that a different lens?
The star trails pictures I used a 20mm to 40mm zoom. Because
sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. And just quickly, I'm trying to write it down. What was the one for the star trails that you used? What was the name of it?
Let me put it in I'll put it in the outside chat so everybody knows.
All right, cool. Yeah, it'd be really good because I'm wanting to do some star trails with the Canon I've got, and I'm sure I can do time lapse on mine, so that should be good. But I need to obviously, and I've got a tripod and everything, but I haven't got a decent lens.
I'll talk to you about it another time, Toady, because at the minute I can't talk too loudly because family are in bed.
Of course.
So,
can I just?
You know who the pilot was in these pictures, Alan?
I can find out for you, but I can't remember off the top of my head. If I zoom right in,
you can probably see his face.
Go grab it, look.
I just posted a link to a video of how to perform a 3D aerobatic maneuver that shows the control inputs we use for that one maneuver. It's like 1:57.
That one's got the part of the problem is he spends so much time rotating the damned aircraft that pulling the web address off the front of the wing.
That's amazing, though. He's going through 180 degrees of roll and roughly not much more than the length of the airplane.
There you go, Blue. There's his web address.
Can I just jump in the if you're asking about the right kind of lens to do to photograph star trails.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend a huge amount of money on lenses, but there are some that give really good results without spending a stupid amount of money. And the there's you got the they're either called Samyang or Rokinon.
Sam Yang, yeah.
Sam Yang,
Mhm.
or Rokinon.
Rokinon, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find it. Yeah.
So they've got a 14 millimeter lens, and similarly, depending on how they're branded, they've got a really good 24 mil lens.
Those don't sound very big, but then what do I know about lenses? Not a lot.
If you are doing wide field imaging, so like the star trails, you need a wide angle lens so that you get lots in. If you're trying to photograph stuff like the sun or the moon, that's when you kind of need a telephoto so that you can fill the frame with what you're looking at when what you're looking at is only half a degree across.
Right.
Okay. I can highly recommend the Samyang Rokinon 24 mil.
24 mil.
It's a really good lens. It's really good.
So, quick question: is there not an option, and there probably isn't, is the answer, but I've got to ask it anyway. Is there an option of maybe a telescope I could buy that I could then affix the camera to?
Of course there is.
No.
Yeah.
No, of course there is. Of course. Yeah.
But that isn't a better option in terms of, because this sounds like it's going to get, like most things I get into, quite complicated quite quickly. Like these things are, right? It's like any kind of, when I did model engineering, I thought, well, I'll start really simply, and then
the
shed's full
problem,
of tools, right?
The problem is that it depends what you want to look at. If you want to get a wide field shot, you just got to stick with a DSLR camera on a wide field lens. When you start using telescopes, you're looking at a very small portion of sky.
Right. Okay. So starfields very, very wide, of course. Yep. When I'm starting to get into telescopes, then I'm sure it's probably quite specific whether you want to look at the sun or whether you want to look at the moon or planets or then stars, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean
actually, I know what I do. I'll go to an astronomy club because it's probably better to see these things, isn't it? There must be an astronomy club around here, and I reckon then I could see some of the stuff, couldn't I? Because it's like anything, you kind of need to see a few things, don't you?
Yeah, well, you probably. I mean, there will doubtless be a astronomical society near you somewhere, and in my experience, they're usually a pretty good bunch of guys, and
friendly kind of people because they're interested in it, of course. Yeah.
I
think I'll do that because I think that's a good way to start to see this stuff, because it's like when I was doing model engineering, a lot to learn quickly. But it sounds like quite an interesting thing. I've never really seen the planets, and the star trails that Alan showed were, they're quite interesting. And there's a lot of objects up there. I was just looking at the moon tonight, right? The moon's, I don't know, almost full at the moment. It's, the best I ever look at it is for binoculars or something these days, because I don't have any telescopes anymore. I don't live where I used to live. But,
one thing that will really get you hooked, even through just a small telescope, you can actually see the moons of Jupiter. You can see them transiting across the face of Jupiter. Yes. Yeah.
What kind of magnification?
I've never really sort of thought about it in that terms, but for a long time.
Is that an amateurish way of thinking about it? No doubt. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure that's a meaningless thing. Yes. Yeah, because obviously I'm only used to lenses that magnify, right? Yeah, I suppose binoculars is probably the paradigm that I'm working in. Yeah.
But if you've got a telescope that is even a small telescope that is maybe 100 millimeters in diameter, or even binoculars, but preferably a telescope, you can actually see the moons of Jupiter, and you can actually see the shadow that they cast on the surface of Jupiter.
That surprises me. Right, I've got to go and do a taxi run for my son. Nice speaking to everyone. I'll definitely talk to you again, Alan, at some point about cameras and lenses and stuff, because that'll be it's very interesting. You know, it's I don't know. I've kind of, my interest has been piqued recently, right, through this whole flat Earth nonsense in the heavens. Yeah, basically.
You should be able to. You should be able to do reasonable, basic time lapse type stuff with your camera with the standard lens that came.
Take care, Toady.
It won't be perfect,
Cheers.
but it'll be.
See you guys
doable.
later.
See you, Toady.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
That's an amazing amount of control inputs on that maneuver, wasn't it, Blue?
Blue, could you present that again? Because half the people watching didn't actually get to see it. I'm sorry, I hadn't pulled the window that I put up showing Lightroom to show my images. I was on OBS. Too many things to look at.
Yeah, let's see if I can. Here we go.
There we go. Now it's going out. Now they can see it.
Oh, wow.
Watch this. Okay, if that was a real pilot, he just died. No human being can withstand those sorts of G-forces. That's what's cool about flying RC.
Yes, it is.
You get away with doing shit that you couldn't possibly do in the real world. Well, not that it's in the real world, it is, but...
That actually looks a bit like a Scale Extra 300.
It does.
Yes.
One thing you find out about them, though, is as much as you try to make it do that, the RCs just do not fly like real airplanes.
No, they don't.
No.
We've taught, my biggest issue when I was a flight instructor was people like Blue and Bob that are real pilots, is trying to teach them how to fly these. They were my hardest students, period, at all.
Well, you want us to do shit we don't want to do to an airplane.
I'd be happy if most pilots that tried to do the RC things could just get it back on the ground without turning it back into a kit.
I've done that before.
It's entirely different trying to land them when you're not sitting in the cockpit.
Yeah, well, landing was always the reason. Landing was the reason why I am not a pilot who has done a solo.
But that was just a quick video that I thought Toady would like. I have more of those videos, but that's what I used to do as a competition pilot, was those kind of aerobatics.
Nothing hard at all about landing, Alan. Just get really close to the ground and stop flying.
Yes. About that, you're also not meant to break the aeroplane, aren't you?
Well, the idea is to try to be able to reuse the airplane. And that's a good landing if you can reuse the plane.
Yeah,
actually, it's a great landing. If you walk away from it, it's a good landing.
There's a big difference between a landing and a hard landing.
No.
Let's just say the only reason I didn't put the main wheel of the glider through the wheel box was because the other side of the 3/8 ply wheel box lid was the seat of the instructor's. Was the seat the instructor was strapped to.
Oh, I'm sure that didn't make him happy.
It did not make him happy. It did not make him happy in the least. Especially as I landed it so hard that I overstressed the aircraft and they had to send it off to be inspected.
Oh, that's bad.
That's mostly his fault, honestly. He shouldn't have let you do that.
Yeah. My problem was I would get within a couple of feet of the ground and then just furk it up.
That's kind of why you have an instructor with you, so that you don't do that shit. That's what.
Yeah, I know.
You know, closer, I'd hire him to be a new aerobatics caller for me, but
You know what happened to me? I took flying lessons when I was about I think I was about 13 years old, and my instructor was he was really old and quite obviously quite unhealthy and not very fit. And I think it was in my third flying lesson. He had a bit of an episode, and I can't claim to have landed the plane by myself, but yeah, it wasn't very good. He was telling me what to do. So yeah, it was the third. Yeah, it was the third time I've been out there, and I kind of had to land the plane, and he was
No.
telling me exactly what to do. So it wasn't that bad. He wasn't unconscious, but that was my last flying lesson. So,
Right. The only reason I can quit competing competition aerobatics with the RCs is because the guy that was my caller passed away. And it's something to compete at that level, you have to have somebody whose cadence and they know how you fly. It's like figure skating. I get judged on how precise I fly that pattern.
Yeah, there's a joke about a situation like you were talking about, John, where guys up flying with his instructor, and the instructor keels over dead, and the guy gets on the radio and says, "You got to help me, man." And the FAA guy says, "Yeah, what's going on?" He's, "Oh, my instructor's dead. I think, and I'm just a student pilot. I don't know how to land the airplane or anything. I need help." And the FAA guy says, "Okay, well, what attitude is the airplane in right now?" And the guy says, "Well, the best we're flying level at a level altitude, but I'm upside down." And the FAA guy says, "Well, how do you know you're upside down?" The guy says, "Because shit's running out of my shirt collar."
Yeah. It was really bad. It was really bad. But he wasn't like completely passed out, but he was like really incapacitated. And I kind of had to follow his lead, and really, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? It wasn't good. As young and fearless as I was, I recognized it was a fucking really bad situation.
That is my new expression. It's a fucking wee bad situation. Can I use that? I'm going to use that in the video.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. Is it wrong that I want to send Blue my call out sheet and just have him make a video that I could practice to?
No, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's probably very right.
He'd probably do a good job for you.
It'd be great to practice to, but I don't have a caller for competitions anymore. The way it works is in January, I'll get my known routine, which is I can practice as much as I want. And then at my skill level, there's 500 maneuvers they could throw at me, and we go to dinner that night, and they give you your unknown routine that you can't practice.
That's got to be fun.
The unknown routine is the difficult part. So my old caller was the same guy that taught me how to fly RC, and he knew how I flew. So he was great at keeping me calm while I was being judged.
Yeah, in that sort of situation, having somebody you can rely on is pretty important, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because you got when we go to fly, you come to the flight line and you do your takeoff roll, and you have your caller on my left, and you have a judge on your right that makes you feel like you're taking your driver's ed test again. That has a sheet of paper constantly writing shit down. I think it's interesting, and they don't give a damn about wind or anything else. If it's supposed to be a true vertical line, you better pull true vertical and counteract with the rudder to make sure that aircraft goes true vertical.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, just like full size, really, but
yes,
harder sometimes.
Square loop for the longest time were my biggest downfall on my scores.
Just don't let him make that recording after a conversation with Allie.
Allie is a piece of work. I got pissed today because that's about the 10th time I've been through this shit with Allie, and I've shown him at least 10 times how screwed up he is, and he just won't listen.
They don't learn from their mistakes. I think that's one of the biggest problems. You know, I learn from my mistakes, and I screw things up on a regular basis, but I learn from them. I don't screw the same thing up twice.
Exactly.
That's the
Corrected.
Yeah, that's the big difference, and it's that's the thing that really rocks against my understanding of the world. I mean, if I think something is true and there is a massive amount of evidence that shows that what I think is true is not actually true, then I'll change my mind. I wouldn't hold on to that belief.
That's because you have basically some self-confidence and have the strength to admit you're wrong. A lot of people don't have that. They have to stick with their same party line because if they're proven to be wrong, it's somehow an insult against their manhood. And they just can't accept the idea that their outlook on life was wrong. We change things all the time.
You gentlemen have fun. I've got to finish getting ready because I'm going out of town to this event this weekend.
We're going out of state.
Yeah, we're going out of state. I'll be in Lake Saranac, Michigan. Saranac, however the hell you pronounce it. Those of you that have my Facebook, my actual Facebook, I'll be doing live streams on there from the event, and then I'll be uploading them to my YouTube channel over the weekend. So y'all have fun and keep it round.
Yeah. Have a good crash.
Have a good one, man. And
Yeah,
good
I
luck
gotta
to
get
you.
out of here too. I gotta pick up my son, so I'll talk to y'all later.
Okay, Sean. Have a good one. Oh, and as I was thinking earlier with the artificial horizon failing, it's okay if you're in VMC. It's when you're in it's when you're on instruments and it fails. That's when you got to worry.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've had two attitude indicator failures that I can recall, and both of them were in VFR conditions. But I never realized how unconsciously I had put the attitude indicator in my scan until that happened to me the first time. You look down and you see that thing laying over sideways, and you immediately want to correct the attitude of the plane. Even though your eyes were just outside and you can see that you're level, but
yes, but of course you're trained. If you're trained to fly on instruments, you're trained to believe the instruments and not anything else.
Well, they make these cool little stopper things, little rubber stoppers that just fit over the flight instrument. It just covers it up. And we use them a lot then as flight instructors use them all the time just to basically irritate the shit out of the students. by taking things away from them. But I learned after the first attitude indicator actual failure, I had to go buy one of those damn things, just have it in my pocket just in case. Because once you can't see it, go ahead, Bob.
I always have money.
Money works. A business card works. Yep.
Yeah, you just fold a dollar bill or something in half, and jam it in, and it generally stays.
Yeah, stick it in there.
There's a really bad crash a few years ago. I think it was in South America, where the artificial horizon stuck, and the pilot was trying to compensate, looking at the artificial horizon, and it just went horribly wrong. But if you, if you've got to mistrust your own senses and to rely on something that's actually giving you real data. But unfortunately, that time there was something wrong with the artificial horizon, and so the pilot was trying to bank to correct what he thought was a fault, and it all went completely and utterly tits up.
Well, John, that's why we teach people not to rely on a single instrument. That's why you do an instrument scan. There are at least 2 instruments in that airplane that will tell you what's going on. For pitch, there are 2 instruments for roll, et cetera, et cetera. If you get fixated on one single instrument, you can get yourself in a hell of a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I think that was an Air France.
Real quickly, too.
Flying from Brazil up to France, disappeared over the South Atlantic. Took them quite a while to find the flight recorders at the bottom of the Atlantic, but they did in the end.
Well, there's for instance, what you're just talking about, there's a turn coordinator in there that'll tell you whether or not the wings are level. There's a heading indicator and a magnetic compass, both of which will tell you the wings are level, because the airplane can't turn if the wings are level. Same thing with altitude. You've got an altimeter. You cannot climb or descend if you're in level flight. So you don't just look at one thing. You look at a whole bunch of things. Look at all those things.
It's all got to agree, or you find the ones that do.
Yeah. Right.
And chances are your vacuum's going to fail before your magnetic compass will.
Absolutely.
And flat earthers try to argue the toss with you two guys. It's
yeah, it's probably not going to work out well for him, is it?
No, it's not. You and Bob really know your shit, and it's just, well, I don't know what to say. I mean, these people that they've YouTube educated themselves, and they think they've got it all. They think all figured out. They're and the conceit is too much to bear.
There's a couple of things that just drive me absolutely batshit crazy about some of these folks. One is when they say, well, these are just opinions. No, it's not an opinion. I'm right. You're wrong. You have an opinion. I have a fact. All right. That's number one. And, look, I don't know everything. There are things that I'm really weak in. I'm really weak in astronomy, for example. But I know how the fucking phases of the moon work, and I know why the moon's tidally locked. And I can explain it easily. And, listening to some of these excuses and made up crap that they come up with is just absolutely amazing.
You still there, Bob?
Yeah, I was done talking. I'm not one of these guys that likes to monopolize the conversation. I say what I say and then I go away.
Yeah. I hear you. We got other people for that, Bob.
Yeah.
We each play to our strengths.
Yeah. Or weaknesses, as the case may be.
Yeah, I tried to the other night. I tried to. I asked Anthony Riley several times what impact he thought it would make. The fact is that Newtonian gravity works, and it always works. And he just dodged it and dodged it. He didn't answer my question. I think I asked him 3 or 4 times, and there was no conclusion to it at all.
It's all integrated. It's integrated in their narrative, and if they lose any part of their narrative, the whole narrative falls apart.
Yeah.
I've been looking back through all of and there's a hell of a lot of Einstein's writings out there, and I can't find the one I'm looking for, but someplace there's one very famous quote from Einstein where he talked about Newton, where he said nothing about general relativity takes anything away from the work Newton did or makes anything Newton said invalid. And
it was from 1922.
Was it?
I remember that quote, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I've been on the Princeton.edu website. 1922. Let me make a note of that. I'll go look
hell,
through
what would Princeton know about Einstein?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. To me, it's really simple. Day to day, Newtonian gravitation terrestrially on this Earth, it works.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, it's as simple as that. It works, and that was the kind of thing that I was trying to ask Anthony Riley about was, well, what do you say about that? I mean, you can say everything you want. Gravity is not a force. It's not a force. It's not a force. Yeah, we can think of it as a force and calculate it with Newtonian gravity, and it works. What have you got to say about that? And
you're arguing against current science, so therefore, no.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what he said. And I think I actually said to him, yes, you are correct. Gravity is not a force, but we can just continue to think of it as a force, and when we do that, it completely works out, and we can just,
we don't.
Fucking.
But the one thing to keep in mind is we don't even use it as a force. We use it as an acceleration. It's not used as a force. Gravity is not used as a force. We said F equal ma to equal to F equals, G m1 m2 over r squared. The m's fall out. You only have Gm over r squared in the acceleration. That's all that's left. That's how we use it.
Yeah.
And I can measure that acceleration directly on my desk.
Absolutely. I can do it on my telephone like we all can. It'll tell us every time. I honestly think some of these nitwits think acceleration literally means you got to be moving. I think that's a part of it. Something has to literally be moving. They can't envision the idea that that telephone with the accelerometer in it can be sitting on a flat surface motionless and is being subjected to an acceleration. They can't comprehend that.
Well, I'm getting ready to do Anthony's egg experiment and prove that buoyancy supersedes relative density, because then acceleration is required, and I've got several ways of being able to prove that. So stay tuned, guys.
Well, I got one going on that same thing too.
Well, we'll see who gets it out first.
Oh, you'll win. You got better shit.
That's right. I've got the best shit.
Yeah,
I have the bestest shit. People tell me all the time I've got the best shit.
I think I know somebody who's got a 4-year-old son who's going to be doing it on video as well. Because his son did it in.
But is he going to prove? Is he going to prove acceleration is required, though?
I think this is the Anthony Riley level of the experiment. So it is just showing that adding the salt changes the buoyancy and makes the egg go up and down. But we'll see.
I'm wondering if we could do the same thing with sugar so it dissolves better.
Yeah, you could.
And of course that won't show up.
We probably could.
Oh,
yes. And it won't show up with Anthony, and you won't be able to measure the changes in amount of stuff in the solvent by using Anthony's parts per million meter.
I think we should do that though for sure. Use the parts per million meter.
Well, I've got a hygrometer.
Yeah, but I think you need to use.
Yeah, I'm gonna
need a dissolved
Blue,
solid meter to go
do you
along
have
with
one
it.
of those?
Yep. Somewhere.
Do you have one?
Yeah. You talking about a dissolved solids meter? Yes.
All right. You pull yours out. I've got a hygrometer.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a hydrometer, and you've got a dissolved solids meter. We should do something together on that one because it's a fuck ton of work for me.
We could.
Do you have both of them? Do you have a hydrometer and a dissolved solids meter?
I somewhere have a hydrometer too. I don't know where the hell it is.
I've got a hydrometer. If you don't, but what I want to do is I want to show the effect of acceleration on buoyancy. And I'm going to go down to the airport, and I'm going to hang a aviation radio from my mirror, and have a helium balloon, and I'm going to have my iPad running my accelerometer, my 3-axis accelerometer on a pillow, and I'm going to run up and down a taxiway or two. I'm going to do it in both ways so that we take care of, we cancel out the heavenly energies in the ether. But that's going to be my part of the buoyancy aspect of it. I was just going to do a simple thing with salt and sugar, but I don't have a parts per million meter.
Well, what I'm going to do is take a clear plastic container with just water in it. I'm going to take a weight of some sort. I hadn't decided exactly what I'm going to use yet, but some sort of weight that's much more dense than the water is. I'm going to tie a string to the weight and run it through a hole in the lid of the container, so that when I hang on to the string, I can lift the weight and the container and everything up at the same time, if you can envision what I'm saying. And as soon as I cut the string, that whole kit and caboodle is going to fall. But guess what? The weight and the container will fall at the same rate until the container hits the ground, and then the weight will go down in the fluid.
If you look in the live chat, Globe Agent Ron Burgundy has, I think, posted the full quote from Einstein about Newton. No one must think that Newton's great creation can be overthrown in any real sense by this theory of relativity or by any other theory. His clear and wide ideas will forever retain their significance as the foundation on which our modern conception of physics have been built. That was the 28th of November 1919.
19? I thought it was 22. Oh, sorry about that, Blue.
Big Blue, there's a guy in the chat that is saying that he's got a reference for you. Did you see that?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a big clear plastic water bottle and I'm going to instrument it with an accelerometer and a camera, and I'm going to blow some bubbles into it and drop it.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing as my weight.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, same deal. I got to go look up that quote though, and I suggest everybody get that handy. And every time Riley brings up that bullshit about Einstein superseding Newton, show it to him. Show it to him over and over and over again. Einstein himself said it. Said it
Well,
best.
like I told Allie today, you know, you don't want to make your words too bitter, Riley, because you're going to have to eat them shortly.
Well, I say again, the massive hole in Anthony Riley's argument is that he can say it as much as he likes. Gravity is not a force. It's not a force. It's not a force. But Newtonian gravity works. It works every day.
Einsteinian gravity reduces to Newtonian gravity unless you're dealing with very tiny particles, very fast particles, or very massive particles.
Yeah, but on the Earth, terrestrially, Einsteinian gravity and Newtonian gravity are completely aligned. There is no difference really between the two of them. Yeah.
Well, his famous thing is he likes to say, well, according to Newton, you have to apply a force to keep the gravity or keep the atmosphere on the Earth. And Einstein says that gravity is not a force. So since gravity is not a force, it can't be used to keep the atmosphere on. What he likes to do is he likes to mix his definitions. He likes to give you a Newtonian requirement and then make you answer it using Einstein.
Well, the semantic warrior needs a little dose of his own medicine. What I'm going to start also doing is saying, you show me in Einstein's own words where he says Newton, that gravity is not a force. Find that in Einstein's words. I know other people say that, but you show it to me in Einstein's words. You're the one making the claim, Anthony.
Or you show me where Einstein said he superseded Newton.
Yeah, either one. I'll take either one. All you can do is play his game sometimes. I don't like that bullshit, but that's the way it works. Well, the other one that's driving me crazy is these guys go to Nathan Oakley for their education, apparently. And they continue with this crap about having to have 2 reference frames, which is absolute bullshit. Coriolis cannot work in 2 reference frames. It has to be in the rotating frame of reference.
They don't even know what 2 reference frames refers to. They just like to quote it.
I know
it's
it.
like
I
their
know
famous. I mean, their big thing was they would talk about the Rowley criteria. Great, Nathan. Can you calculate the Rowley criteria? Let's see. We'll do 500 nanometers for wavelength of light and 5 millimeters for the pupil. Why don't you go ahead and calculate the Rowley criteria for me and tell me what that angle would be?
They don't seem to get it, and quite properly so. When you look at some of the definitions, you'll find it in Wikipedia. They refer to a stationary, an inertial frame of reference. They say a rotating frame of reference in with respect to a stationary frame, an inertial frame. But in truth, when you think about the definition of a rotating frame of reference, it's got to be with respect to another frame, period. You can't just have a single reference frame and say it's rotating or not rotating, or accelerating or not accelerating. You can't have it. You got to have a second frame. That's all they're talking about. But these nitwits don't get
Well,
it.
I mean, if you get right down to what they're saying is that they've got the rotating Earth, and then they've got an airplane flying a straight path over it, or they've got an airplane flying a straight path, or a projectile, more accurately.
Yeah, and they want to act like that's two reference frames,
Those are
and
the,
it isn't.
yeah. The inertial reference frame is the projectile, and the rotating reference frame is the surface of the Earth. That's fine.
So if I had an accelerometer on an airplane and I flew a dead straight path north, I would have a lateral force on me. A physical lateral force, or a perceived lateral force, correct?
I'm sorry, if you're going straight,
In actuality, in actuality, yes, there would be a very small force on you.
Right. As I go from 1,024 miles an hour to 1,000 miles an hour over the next 50 miles or 100 miles.
Yeah, but it's insignificant.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I would be theoretically.
Well, when you drive straight north or south in your car, there's a force on you, but it's so small you can't feel it.
Especially not
Blue,
compared
let me
with all the other
add
forces
something
on
to
you.
that, would you?
I'm sorry, say again, Bob.
All right, let me see if I understand this correctly. Just listen to this and tell me what you think. If you are riding a projectile that's not controllable and you're fired in a straight line, you will not feel a lateral force left or right.
Correct.
You will physically curve to the right in the northern hemisphere. If you fly an aircraft and you follow a straight north-south path on the Earth, as an aircraft does, an aircraft follows a path over the ground. You
Accelerating force, actually, I would think. Yeah, like these towards the. I don't know which way.
Ken, you're breaking up quite a lot.
Sorry.
was I able to get that out, or did I break up?
You broke up as well, Bob, I'm afraid.
Let me wait a little while longer, and I'll get a little closer to a town.
Yeah, an aircraft is not a ballistic device.
An aircraft does not go in a straight path; it follows a path over the
Correct.
over the ground. That's the difference. So am I being read a little better
Yeah,
now?
you are.
All right. Let me just repeat that real quick. If I was riding a projectile, which is uncontrollable, and I was fired straight north, I would not feel a lateral force on me. However, I would curve to the right in the northern hemisphere. If I was flying an aircraft that was controllable and going straight north over a path on the ground, I would feel a force that I had to compensate for to the left to stay on that ground track.
Yep. It's very slight. Probably not even measurable, but the force would be there.
Yeah, I calculated it out. I think it was like 9 miles an hour max on a 500 mile an hour aircraft.
Yeah, there's literally a force on you if you're driving your car north and south.
Right.
For the same reason.
Well, in any direction.
Yeah, in any direction. But it's so slight you can't possibly notice it. The change is like 1 mile per hour every hour. Yeah.
riding a clockwork merry-go-round.
You can't measure it.
Well, if you're driving north-south on an interstate traveling 70 miles an hour, that force you'd have to compensate for a 1 degree, or you'd have to compensate a little bit for that, yeah.
Yeah, it's slight. It's very slight.
I'm sorry, I'd have to calculate it out.
I did it one time. I can't remember what number I got.
It won't have been very big though.
It's tiny.
So subtle, it wasn't funny.
It's like sitting on the end of the clock hand saying, "Yes, I can see it move." No, fuck, you can't.
Well, the problem is so many of the times we look at it, like even in my presentation on the Coriolis, I basically took the maximum deviation for a nautical mile and attributed that to the course of the bullet the entire time, the entire mile. That's not what happens. It's a continuous change, and it's a calculus problem. It's not an algebra problem. And I don't have the calculus to do it.
That's exactly right. That was a little bit of a disagreement that Rumpus and I were having earlier. It does matter what latitude you're at. That is changing.
Well, it is the latitude. That's what determines it.
Right.
But yeah,
I
mean, when I calculated the drift of that bullet, it's 14 inches, but in reality, it's probably 8 or 9.
Yeah, if you do it the way I think you probably did it, you'll come up with about twice what it really is.
Exactly.
Something close to that. I did the same thing with Nathan Roberts' baseball.
I watched a video last night about airplanes flying east and west with cesium clocks on board. I don't remember the name of the experiment, but it was interesting that going into east-west or depending on direction, the time either offset forward or backwards, which actually was unexpected to me. It had to do with special relativity.
Yeah, it was the experiment they did proving time dilation, and you would expect that.
Okay.
If you're flying in an easterly direction, your absolute velocity is the speed of the airplane plus the rotational speed of the Earth. Whereas if you're flying to the west, it's the opposite. It's the rotational speed of the Earth minus the speed of the airplane. So you expect that you would see a difference in the time dilation, and they saw exactly what they should have seen. It was, I don't know, 40 nanoseconds one direction and 170 nanoseconds the other way, or something.
Yeah, somebody had suggested to me that since the third reference clock was one that was fixed, that your speed relative to that fixed clock was the same. So I'm not sure whether that's true or not.
You broke up just a little bit.
That would be the way to design the experiment. That would be the way to design the experiment. You have a fixed reference clock on the ground, and then you put the clock in the aircraft, fly it east, and then turn it around and fly it west.
Well, that's what they did, Bob.
Compared
They had
to the fixed clock.
Right.
Now, yeah, they had 3 clocks. They had one on the ground, one in an aircraft that went east, and one in an aircraft that went west. And the aircraft that went in the easterly direction dilated its time dilated much more, like 4 times as much as the aircraft flying to the west, compared to the ground-based fixed clock.
Right. I'm not sure with the numbers that I saw whether they were compared to the reference clock or to each other.
No, that was compared to the reference clock.
Okay. So I can get younger or older depending on the direction I fly?
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
Cool.
Always fly to the east. No, wait a minute. Which way would that be? Fuck, I don't know.
Be fast.
You're spending way too much time on that, Blue.
East would be slower.
I'm just upset to know that my toenails are a different age than my hair is. That pisses me off. Damn it.
It's a whole neat world of science out there that these idiots are just ignoring.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy of the whole thing. Is there are really fascinating things out there, wondrous things, and they, because they want to stick with this narrative, they just close their eyes to them.
Ken's playing banjo again.
You know, trillion is such a small number. Oh, cool.
Here you go. You're back. Or not.
Oh, breaking up again. I'll talk later.
A little bit. Where are you headed, Bob?
I'm heading home right now. I was out in the Tawas today. We're actually the place that I did that observation for our equinox.
Oh, yeah.
I was up there, and now I'm heading home. It's about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I'm about 45 minutes from home. Man, we've got shit weather here. I got ceilings of 300 feet.
Oh, that's what I can hear, the windscreen wipers.
Yeah, let me turn those off. It's not actually raining right now. That annoys my wife, too.
I don't know if it's a secret, and don't tell me if it is any privileged or confidential information, but what happened to Jose? I didn't hear the details. Did he say it in the open chat?
He's got some domestic issues.
Yeah, I think his wife ran off with his dogs.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Let's just support Jose and let him handle his business.
He talked about it a little bit one day. I think he's staying with his sister now.
Yeah, that's the thing I kept on hearing, but then I inkling that his wife didn't come along with them.
No, she didn't.
He seems to be handling it well.
Not much else you can do.
I tried to tell my son that when he broke up with his girlfriend. He wasn't hearing it.
Oh, it's always the one, you know.
Oh, just.
Funny, it was back though. He dumped her like 3 times.
That happens.
You know, you just wake up every morning trying to be the man your dog thinks you are, and just go from there.
Thank God I've got a dog with very low expectations.
Most of them do, but they think the world of you.
Oh, yeah. Mine's getting a bit old now. He's about 12. He's a pit bull. That's pretty old for a pit bull.
Oh, don't tell me that, man. I got 2 of them, and they're getting gray around the muzzle.
You got pits?
Yeah, I got 2 of them. Gracie and Molly, they're females, about 60 pounds. Really nice dog. Molly we call jealous because she can't stand anybody else getting pets if she's not getting pets. And then Gracie, is probably one of the most chill dogs that I've ever seen. But when they were allowed in the house, she used to just sit at the intersection of the hallways between the kitchen, the living room, and the upstairs, and she'd just sit there and watch for like hours and hours. Didn't move.
Looking for somebody to kiss.
Yeah, sort of. That's how we figured out who broke into the house. Somebody broke into our house and stole my kids' Christmas presents about 5 years ago, when the dogs were pretty young and, you know, full of piss and vinegar. And we figured that it had to be somebody that we knew, because there weren't body parts laying around the house.
Yep.
You know, no blood. Somebody they knew walked in and took the presents and left.
Well, mine's a male. He's about 90. He stays between 90 and 100 pounds. And probably the most friendly dog I've ever seen in my life.
They're great dogs.
Oh, yeah.
They're great dogs. And let's see, we got two others. I've got a beagle, a male beagle. He thinks he rules the roost because the other three are females. And then I've got a little long-haired rat that my daughter says is a Dachshund Basset Hound Beagle mix. But they're good. They all get along really well.
That's good. Yeah, at one point I had 3 Bassets and 2 Pit Bulls.
That's not a pet, that's a kennel.
No shit.
I always had big dogs, but I kind of like that beagle. He's just got personality to him. Plus, when they're little, they smell like popcorn.
Yeah, my Basset Hounds their Bassets have a lot of personality too. They're just goofy. We had
box mix, a flat-coated retriever, a Cairn Terrier, and a Husky mix.
Wow. We had the 3 Basset Hounds, and then inherited the 2 Pit Bulls from my daughter. And
2 of those are my daughters.
Yeah, over time they've gone away.
Wore them out.
Now we're down to the male Pit Bull. We call him Boss, and that's a great name for that dog. He is the boss.
My wife is talking tough. Like, this time we're not getting another dog. After my last dog died, she said, we're not getting one yet. We got to wait 6 months or something just to see if we really want a dog. And about 3 days after my dog died, she started bringing pictures to me.
Yep.
What about this one? I'm like, oh, Jesus. You stuck to your guns a long time, didn't you, sweetie?
I hate losing them, but I'd rather have a dog and have to face that than just not have a dog, honestly. Because the dog is the only thing around here that understands me.
Having to put a dog down is it's one of those times when you just say, yeah, I don't want an adult anymore.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to do, that's for sure. Been through that before.
And friggin' December 22nd, no less.
Oh, shit. – 9/11. What a fucking day.
Oh, you lost a dog on 9/11?
No. I'm just glanced down at the bottom of my screen and noticed the date again.
Yeah, I'm surprised that topic didn't take off today. I was glad.
Yeah, me too, because I can really get spooled up on that one.
I that was my first introduction to conspiracy theories, and I started going through, the buildings, velocities, and kinetic energy and all this shit. It's like I realized that all these people are just speaking shit.
Total shit.
Even on a base logical reason, it couldn't work. It's like, oh, so they put explosives on every floor? I mean, what are you telling? Secretary didn't ask why you're putting det cording the ceiling?
I think the problem is that it was not something that had never been considered before, wasn't it? What would happen if you fly a couple of airliners into a very big building, and a lot of people have some odd expectations.
I remember, though, I was in the office and trying to rig a TV up so that everybody could watch the events unfolding. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, I see the firefighters going down there. I'm like, dudes, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be going into that building right now. That thing's coming down. And that was my first impression of it. It's like, just think of all the building members that had to be severed by that impact, just on a surface level, made me think that it's not long for this world.
No, of course, once collapse has started, it's just going to keep on going, isn't it?
Yeah. That was such an unusual design for a building.
Yeah.
With an
It never occurred to me that it would fall.
With an exoskeleton that way, which is really only tied to the central core through fairly flimsy floor trusses that are supporting the concrete floors. Once you take those concrete floors out, just on one floor would be bad enough. Now the length of that supports that exoskeleton, the height of that unsupported span quickly becomes much more than it can handle.
Right.
It's going to come down. It has to.
And Building 7, I've never actually looked into it that much. So it's like, yeah. The other ones came down naturally. I'm gonna let that one come down naturally too.
I think it did what it had to do as well. You're looking at substantial damage, but on top of that, with absolutely no water left for the sprinkler systems or anything. Those fires were raging inside Building 7 for 7 hours or more.
Oh, and all the people who say, "Oh, well, steel doesn't melt at till 2000 whatever degrees."
Well, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to.
Just look at a truck building after a fire.
It's called the typical steel we use in that sort of construction is called A36 in this country anyway, and that's 36,000 pound per square inch yield strength. Check out sometime the strength. What happens to A36 steel when you take it up to even 1,000 degrees? At 1,000 degrees, it's down to 40% of its yield strength.
Yeah, I remember it was appreciable at 700. I thought.
Yeah. Well, and that stuff, some of those members can be stressed. The limits are 66% of the yield strength. And if you drop it to 40, to 40 or 50 or even 60% of its yield strength, those highly stressed sections are going to fail, period.
Right. You can only overbuild a building so much.
Yeah. We pay structural engineers a shitload of money so that we don't overbuild them. So that
I'm just going to add that Brian Mullins is a structural engineer.
Really?
Yeah, really.
You know,
And he doesn't believe in gravity.
you know, George Natchik looked him up and checked him out. Apparently, I looked up a Brian Mullins in Florida to see if there was a guy registered. You can look. Anybody can do that. I mean, it's every state's got a registry of their professional engineers. And there is a Brian J. Mullen, or I can't remember his initial now. But anyway, I found one in Florida. He's not a resident of Florida. He was a resident of South Carolina, I think.
He's up in North Carolina now. He started off in Florida, went up to North Carolina, and I actually found a webpage which features him for his engineering firm. He works for the state of, he does a lot of contract work with North Carolina.
Really? Okay.
Oh, God. I'm moving.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things that he really pissed me off. My whole family's engineers.
Is it the same guy,
just
Bob?
Pissed me off. Yeah, it's the same guy. I think I was a private detective.
He was just a YouTube content provider, right? He didn't talk to anybody.
I would have bet that was identity theft or something.
I mean, I work.
No, he's a real structural engineer.
I work in the engineering field, RF engineer. I'm a glorified technician. But it's like, I know more shit than you.
Well, I know more shit than he does, and I just have a dad and a brother that are engineers. And I know blue.
Most people in my job are RF engineers, electrical engineers. So I'm exposed to a lot of people who, let's put it this way, I can tell a cop. I was really surprised to see he wasn't a cop.
Well, I'll just say this. I believe the North Carolina Board of Engineers, Professional Engineers Association ought to have a talk with him.
Yeah.
I think that they did, but the problem is, and I think somebody turned him in to the engineering board in Florida when he first started doing this shit. And they basically said unless he actually does something related to work, his opinions and his YouTube videos aren't a basis for disciplinary action. But he is, I personally think it's an ethics violation. And it just paints engineering in a bad light.
Yeah. I agree with that. I totally agree.
Plus, the thing that really pisses me off is, we all have our professions and we're experts in our field. Blue, you've got yours, I've got mine. If I tell you something that is related to my profession and put my professional opinion behind it, it's one of those things that you really ought to take very close to heart. And when you have an engineer tell you that gravity doesn't exist or give you some of this bullshit and blatantly misrepresent first-year physics student problems, because he's an engineer, he's using that reputation to give weight to this erroneous information, and that is a problem.
Yeah, that is, in fact, the ethical violation.
It's an ethic, or if he's telling what he thinks is the truth, it's not ethics, but it's an ethic question as to his ability. And if he's lying just to make money on YouTube, that's ethics.
I would bet that in his spare time he goes out and collects snakes for the church he belongs to.
Well, Florida's the place to do it, at least.
No engineer believes that kind of bullshit.
Not even engineers in name only.
That amazes me. Well, Pete Shea
But if
believes
he's a structural engineer, how can you be a structural engineer and not understand and accept the concept of gravity?
I have no idea.
I'm amazed at the people I've talked to who claim that they're engineers, and everybody I've ever talked to in the discipline seems to have been exposed to the speed of light. at some point in their engineering education. And almost to a man, every one of the ones that I have met on the flat earth side are like, oh, I've never heard anything about the speed of light.
It does
In
amaze
school,
me.
it's like, really? Come on.
Well, that's the thing that I run into is, I mean, I'm one of these guys that say, oh, so you're a commercial pilot? Let's talk pilot stuff for a second.
What's
What
an
is
aileron?
how close will a non-precision approach get you to the runway? And, people that actually are professional pilots, even at the private instrument level, know that answer. How close are you to the end of the runway at the end of an ILS? There's nobody in the world that is a pilot that won't say that, 200 feet. That's the go-around point.
DH.
Yeah, my only pilot training is in
decision height.
DH, if you're non-precision, it's more like 800 feet, not 200 feet.
Yeah. And anybody that's an actual pilot would know that. What's the pattern altitude? It's 1,000 feet above whatever the airport altitude is.
Unless otherwise specified.
Unless otherwise specified.
If you don't know any better, you fly 1,000 feet above the runway elevation.
Yeah, they kind of get pissed off. It upsets them when you buzz the terminal.
Yeah. There are a few up in your neck of the woods, Bob, where the pattern altitude's 800 feet, I remember. But I think it's because the land's pretty flat around there.
Well, yeah, I'm real flat. I'm going through a hill right now, but I'm going through some hills. But yeah, we're pretty damn flat up here. Did you guys see Jay Tolan Media One's latest efforts?
No.
Not yet.
He's got what is it? A photometric software that he's got that you take a photo from several different angles and it constructs a 3D model of the Earth underneath you. And he goes, "Look, it's flat. See, you use latitude, longitude, and elevation, and look, it plots out flat as a pancake. There's no curve here." And he forgets to mention the fact that, or he doesn't seem to understand that the one axis happens to be the altitude, the elevation. Sound familiar, Blue?
Oh yeah.
And I'm going, oh my God.
Student of QE.
Why do all the flags?
I swear to God, I listened to those guys. They had to have been pulling us on that one because nobody's that fucking stupid.
That's what I thought till they did it 2 or 3 more times. What'd you say, Alan?
So what I want to know is how come there's so many people out there who believe in the flat earth, and the one thing they all seem to have in common, they absolutely totally cannot understand 3-dimensional space.
Dyscalculia. One of the things is you cannot visualize geometry.
I think that's really true, Bob. Yeah, I would totally agree with you. I saw your video on that, and Wolfie's video on it as well. I think that's a thing.
Well, that was a nod to Wolfie because I thought that was a very profound video that he put out. That's one of the reasons I don't get too mad at flat earthers when they, we have to explain the same thing to them 25 times. I honestly don't think some of them can actually comprehend what we're talking about. They just, I'm blue-gray. I'm one of the 10% of middle-aged men that are blue-gray colorblind to some extent. I found that out on my last damn airman's exam. But, it's just, okay, so I can't see blue-gray very well. But
yeah.
I acknowledge it.
I'm ashamed to say that my own brother, who's 10 years older than me, is a flat earther. He's almost like he's my and he just doesn't get it. I remember years ago. He's a fine man in lots of ways. He was Royal Marine commando. I remember trying to explain to him that if he fired a bullet, this was years ago, 20 years ago. If he fired a bullet, dropped the bullet, it would both hit the ground simultaneously, and he couldn't get his head around it at all. What do you do then?
Well, it's kind of sad, but the bottom line is there's a lot of people that just either weren't educated about that or just didn't get it. I struggled with chemistry. I mean, I just didn't have a real good head for chemistry. But I don't discount people who do know something about chemistry. They're better at it than I am.
I think my big STEM
Well, the
subject
fundamental
was biology
problem
myself.
erupts when you're talking.
Go ahead, Blue.
When you're talking to a guy like Anthony Riley, you've got a fundamental problem here, because you're dealing with a guy who literally believes that 5 divided by 0 is 5. And I got him to say it again yesterday. Now, how can you have an intelligent conversation about Newtonian physics alone? Forget about relativity with a guy that doesn't know any more math than that.
Yeah.
Well,
Impossible.
here's the thing. You guys all know Gleam, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've run across Gleam out here before. He loves quoting obscure concepts in Newton or in Einsteinian relativity. That. All right, Gleam, tell me why objects fall to the ground. Because they're lifted up is what he tells me. Okay, where's the force come from? Well, I just explained to you Newton's first law. Well, great. Tell me more about Newton's second law. Where is the acceleration? Well, that's you lifting it up. It's gravitational potential. Come on, man. If you can't explain to me why things fall and tell me that they have to have an acceleration acting upon them, don't tell me about relativity. Yeah. They love the big words, though. They just don't know what they are, or they can't comprehend basic concepts because they're too busy trying to impress you with their big words.
Chess with pigeons.
Pigeon chess.
If you can't tell me, don't ask me about the equivalence principle when you can't tell me what force times mass equals, or mass times acceleration equals.
Bob, I left a bit of facetious comment you were asking about. I saw the stream Canadian debunkers. What's you've got your list, and what do you think? And I put in Celine Dion, A World That We Can Believe In. Which is one of her songs. I'm not a fan of Celine Dion, but I didn't really know. I don't actually know any Canadian debunkers. I don't know what nationality the debunkers are, but yeah. So it was just meant as a joke anyway. So
as far as Canadian debunkers go, you've got Canadian Thomas. Brainy Beaver.
Right.
something something Feud World. That's Canadian Thomas's other. Persona, I think.
But yeah, it was an interesting question. Actually, Bob, just while we're together on this chat, I just want to say whenever I actually managed to hook up with people, say I think your channel is awesome. For what it's worth, just keep on, keep doing it. Yeah. So.
Okay, so you say my channel is the worst? I'm going through hills right now. You're cutting in and out. But I thank you. I'm number one at something.
No, Bob. What I'm saying is I think your channel is really, really good.
Well, thank you very much.
The content that you put out consistently, it's really patient, really the right tempo. Explained really well. It's pretty much spot on. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I enjoy it. I really do. And you know the best part about doing a channel like that where people start listening to you? You have an opportunity to highlight some other channels. You know, Ragical, the Unhallowed Knight, was one of the guys that I helped along early when I was doing it. Casual Spaceman, Canadian Thomas, and Brainy Beaver. I kind of got out of it.
But you,
I think Blue and I had a few talks.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
You know, there's a really
Blue was thinking about starting a channel.
A really good link that you did was I don't agree with what the guy says, but Carlos, he did this really amazing demonstration
Carlos had a
of
really
shadows. That was above and beyond the Call of Duty. That was really impressive.
Yeah, he did a nice job with that. You know who's a flat earther that did a? You know, I finally found a flat earther that actually did some, and that was Cleary. Did you see his shadow box with the mountain and the shadow being cast upward because of the reflection? I mean, he's obviously wrong, but he actually put good work into that. You know, he put good work into that, and he demonstrated that, you know, if you've got a light source below, it'll cast a shadow up, even though it's a spotlight. You know, he's going to fall flat on a couple of the follow-up questions, but he actually did decent work with that one. He made an experiment and did a nice job with it. I was impressed.
You
got to lose the attitude, but
you got to put the work in. You know.
Yeah.
Like
he did. That was the thing.
Yeah, I was saying to the Plain Truth. I think it was last night. He says, "Oh, I don't have the time." Blah blah blah. He obviously does have the time to miseducate himself on YouTube. And I said to him, you know, how seriously do you actually take this? When I'm that much of an astronomy geek that I'm building a telescope just now. I have been trying to get it finished for a good couple of years, and I've spent thousands of patents on it. Research grade optics. The numbers there. That's how serious I am about that's a far cry from somebody just watching YouTube.
Well, the 3 or 4 hours he spends here chatting with us in a row, he could go and delve into one of these subjects for 3 or 4 hours and actually start to learn something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you spent 6 hours
The
with
key
us last night,
would be to
didn't you?
listen to us and at least use that as a basis to get started in his research.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why do that when you can sit and just listen to the bullshit you want to listen to and believe what you want to believe?
That sounds good.
Which is what they all do.
But it really bothers me. It really. I try not to get angry. You've got great men like Copernicus, Galileo, Faraday, Maxwell, Einstein, career physicists who have really devoted their life to the cause of finding out the truth, and these people think that they can just shit all over it with a meager. I mean, just.
The thing that pisses me off the most is when Sleeping Warrior constantly refers to Einstein as Albert. Who the fuck are you?
Mm.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. I Sleeping Warrior is I think he's the flat earther that I really can't stand the most. He thinks he's going to win it like he's in a courtroom or something. And he likes to say that
he doesn't win in courtrooms.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I always use patently absurd, or manifestly absurd is what I like to refer to his stuff, because that's what the judge told him his argument was.
Yeah.
Somebody posted a link recently to an article in a sort of transport type magazine, online magazine for transport managers, detailing the reasons why you need to make sure you have the correct documentation. And the whole 4-page article was based on a certain Mr. Riley's misfortunes vis-a-vis.
That's where I quoted it from.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the case for that? Was that a flat Earth case, or was that his case with?
No, basically what happened, if you allow me to summarize it real quick, is the guy was caught dropping off passengers by the transport police, and when they asked him for his, basically his commercial driver's license that allowed him to do that, his permit, he said it was back at the office. Well, it turns out it wasn't back at the office. He never had one. And then he claimed that he had an exception under one paragraph of that law that said if you were just transporting equipment for your business and you were a manager or some shit, you didn't need one. And his excuse was that he was transporting his cell phone where he kept his diary and his appointment calendar. So therefore he didn't need a commercial driver's license. And the judge just fucking laughed him out of court.
I never heard the details, but yeah, I knew about that case, but only that he lost it.
Yeah, he lost it, epically. And then he, you know, the thing that he did was he, you know, and this is why he's not an attorney. In his argument that he submitted to the court, he said that if, you know, he knows the law, and if he loses this case, he's going to give up his business because he's completely lost faith in the system. And that's what he tells the fucking judge before the case. You know, there's nothing like, you know, Your Honor, I know this law, and if you rule against me, you know, it clearly shows that the entire system is fucked. So I don't, you know, whatever. Do your worst.
I think part of the problem was,
you know, like, oh my God. Do you have no common sense?
I think part of the problem was he'd actually run this question past somebody at the Department of Transport when these new regulations came, because these regulations came in because of an EU directive. So because previously we'd never had those types of tests. And
well, the judge actually addressed that and said that I don't know who this person is, but their advice is completely wanked.
Yes. But of course, it's difficult because if you rely on the advice of a government official, it can have consequences. In fact, I just saw in the local paper today that a woman had won just on £4,000 from our local council because the building control department told her that her new extension would require a concrete float foundation because the ground was very poor in that area without going out and inspecting the ground. Turns out that so she pays out £4,000 extra to have this special foundation put in, and when the building control officer goes out and looks at it and says, yeah, it's very good and everything, but why the hell did you bother doing it? The ground's fine here. And she made an official complaint and was awarded the costs of the extra that she'd spent.
But you understand that that would be something that would be very, you know, you would be very reasonable in relying on them to tell you that. And then if it turns out that their advice is an error, they are liable for it. But, you know, think about this thing here. If you think about even the basics of what this would be required and what they're talking about you taking a couple of cases of copy paper from point A to point B in the company bus and dropping it off. They're not talking about you walking around with your damn cell phone. I mean, can you by any stretch of the imagination imagine that it would apply to you carrying your cell phone, which has your appointment book in it, as carrying equipment for a company or supplies?
No, I wouldn't. But
that's completely unreasonable. The first case is a screw up. But it was a silly argument, and that's what the judge told him it was.
Oh, yeah, I quite agree it was a silly argument, and that the advice he'd been given was a bit...
Well,
don't know how you could construe that.
Yeah,
is silly the word you're looking for?
If Anthony said it, you can bet it was silly.
You know, what I took away from the last time I spoke with Anthony, I asked him, I think it was 4 times, what is the impact of the fact that Newtonian gravitation actually works? And he just he replied with a load of word salad. and it obviously was very, very difficult for him. And I think that's maybe the key. I mean, he likes to just, spout, it's not a force, it's not a force, it's not a force. But if you point out to him that Newtonian gravitation works, then what have you got to say about that? What do you if you're trying to create this feud between Einstein and Newton, whatever, yeah, but the fact is that Newtonian gravitation works on Earth, and so and it accounts for gravity, and it accounts for the atmospheric pressure, and it completely destroys this what does he call it? 10 to the minus 17 torr, blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah.
Half of them don't even know what negative exponents actually mean, do they?
No, of course not.
No.
They have no clue what scientific notation is.
Why can't he just say? I mean, it sounds very impressive. Well, to some people, 10 to the minus 17 torr. You could just say a vacuum. It sounds like it's more than it is. 10 to the minus 17 torr.
The difference between a perfect vacuum and 10 to the minus 17 torr structurally is nothing.
It's nothing.
Guys, I've got to run. It's been great talking with y'all.
Have a good one, Bob.
Okay, good night,
Talking to you, Bob.
Cheers, Bob. Thank you.
Well, at one point I wanted to say, well, why don't you guys just simply, if you think 10 to the minus 17th is impressive, just use 0.
Yeah.
When they're working out these huge ratios, they've taking 14.7 divided by 10 to the minus 17th and coming up with these enormous numbers. Just divide by 0. Now I understand why they don't do that, though, because they don't know what divide by 0 means.
Yeah. They don't realise that divide by 0 actually gives them essentially infinity.
Yeah, we call it undefined because it could go anywhere from negative infinity to positive infinity.
But either way, it's going to be a very big number.
Yeah, even bigger. So.
Also use that the time dilation is trillionths of a second, and I don't know what he's referencing when he says that. What metric he's using to decide the trillion. But okay, well, routinely every day my cell phone network works in a microsecond realm. We're working in millionths and even billionths of a second. Just to do metrics that we do.
Yeah, nanoseconds are not unmeasurable or unreasonably short lengths of time. We use it all the time, and
I'm going to say these days, even picoseconds are not very much, are they?
Yeah, I was about to go there too. Yeah, even picosecond. So what's the big deal? I mean, it's easy enough to measure.
And then you just use your independent variable of allowing more time to elapse, and all of a sudden, a couple of trillions of a second can add up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of seconds in an hour, 3,600 of them.
Indeed.
Son of a bitch, that is a bunch. Didn't think about that.
6,400 a day.
God.
I think.
Oh no. What should we do? Oh fuck. Oh dear. It's terrible. We have too many seconds. We need to get rid of some of these.
Yeah.
Well, come on.
I know. Time dilation. That'll do it.
I was going to say, come on, we do sometimes have to have leap seconds these days, don't we?
You know,
And that's because the sun.
A thing that really occurs to me a lot. I've mentioned it before. I used to be a commercial diver, and this big problem with going from 14.7 psi to 0 psi, like it's some kind of outrageous pressure differential.
Well, it is. You got to go down almost 30 feet, almost 30 feet in the ocean to get that much pressure.
Yeah. But think of the technological challenge to make a submarine, for instance, that copes with many many times atmospheric pressure, and that's much more difficult than something like the ISS.
Yeah, and it's the wrong direction. The pressure's the wrong direction too.
Yeah,
a tire works on 2 atmospheres of pressure differential routinely.
It's pressure on that submarine's trying to crush it, which is much easier to do structurally than to cause it to fail the other way with high pressure on the inside.
The one that gets me is when they show the video of the tanker truck and they evacuate it and it gets crushed. Well, yeah, but it's a tanker truck. It's designed to have shit put inside it so that the pressure inside is bigger than the pressure outside.
Yeah.
You're going to be you're not designing it to be crushed, are you? Well, you could design it to be crushed too, but then it's going to be a big, heavy tank that's not going to be very good for dragging around on the road.
Oh, I'll tell you what it's going to have. It's going to have flat bar stiffener. It's going to have stiffeners around the outside of it. That's exactly what will happen. You'll put a stiffener ring around it, like you see sometimes on water towers. But
well, I think that that sci-fi has got a lot to answer for. I mean, I can think of many films where there's like there was one of the Alien films where there was just this like tiny little hole in the bulkhead of the spaceship, and this alien creature got sucked out of that tiny little hole. I mean, and the fact is, the reality is, if say a micrometeorite hit the ISS, punctures a hole right through the bulkhead, they could cover it with a
Scotch tape.
You know, it's well, I don't know. It's just the lack of understanding just leads, it grows arms and legs, and people just think all kinds of stupid shit. It's just a lack of understanding.
Again, thinking 10 to the minus 17 is some kind of superpower. Again, with a simple syringe in my house, I can achieve pretty damn good vacuum. And my finger doesn't suck into the syringe.
Having said that, I am actually, I'm still quite offended because Chris Hadfield said that I looked like Rasputin, and I don't think I'll ever get over that. But never mind.
I don't think I've seen you.
Anyway,
I had some experience a long time ago with industrial size vacuum chambers. Very good vacuum chambers that would go down to around between 1 and 10 torr, which is pretty good for, on the industrial front. But and that thing had a valve on the front. We designed it with a valve on the front of it for repressurization, and I'm thinking it was about an 8-inch valve, something like that. I'm not 8-inch, about an 1.5-inch valve on it. And you could open that valve up when you wanted to repressurize the chamber, and I have done this 1,000 times, and just stick the palm of my hand over it to seal it back up. No problem.
Yeah,
No problem.
Yeah.
If you held your hand on there long enough, it'd make a red spot, like a hickey.
Yeah, you get a hickey after a few minutes.
You could make a hickey on your hand if you wanted to, or whatever else you wanted to stick in that hole. But
I've had a few of them.
Yeah, thank God nobody ever did that. But
bit different to when I opened up my dive cylinder when it had just over just on 150 bar in it, just to see how loud the noise would be through the dim valve. That was impressive.
You should, Alan. You know what's quite fun is if you're inside your house and you've got a big window, like in your sitting room or whatever. Get a dive cylinder and crack the valve right open, and you will see the glass in the window bending.
Yeah.
I did a 2-liter Pepsi Bob. I filled it up in my garage as a kid, and with a bicycle, with one of those little electric compressors, I got it up to about 100 psi. I'm like, I ain't touching that thing to depressurize it, and it didn't pop. Oh, damn it! How am I gonna get rid of this thing? So I took my BB gun, I beat on it, I shot the thing, and it rocked the garage doors in their frames. Damn, there's a lot of energy in that little bottle.
Damn
yeah,
straight.
I mean, I actually have my dive cylinders for refilling my air rifles, not for diving. Which is why I have to take them for refilling when they've still got 150 bloody bar in them.
Don't they make a little electric pump for the air guns now?
Yeah, they basically have a stirrup pump inside them that they pump up and down, and they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Shite.
That they'd have like a little electric pump that could pull off, a couple 100 bar, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, you can, but like I said, they've got you can buy a stirrup pump to fill your air rifle with, which are bloody hard work. And those small electric pumps are basically a motor driving a stirrup pump up and down inside it, and they are shite. I've seen them, I've used them, and they have the disadvantage that they burn out even faster than a stirrup pump does.
I didn't know that you knew words like that, Alan.
What's that? Shite.
I'm kidding. You know the thing that I one of my recent regrets is that Spurs, what's it called? Spurs Chemo. He likes to try and deny that atmospheric pressure is even real. And one of the things that popped into my head was from diving. If you've got a 15-liter steel cylinder and it's empty, so basically it's not empty, but it's got a atmospheric pressure in it.
It's got 15 litres of air in it,
Yeah.
STP essentially.
Yeah. If you put that in water, it will float. It'll actually float.
Yeah.
Well, when you pressurize that cylinder to 200 bar or like 220 bar, it'll sink like a stone.
Yeah, damn right.
I always wondered. I didn't know how much weight that would be. So that's got to be like, at least 10 pounds, isn't it?
I don't know. I've never worked it out, but it was when I first saw it. It kind of because we had to. I used to work on salmon farms, and we had to we had to put all our stuff into a dip to make sure that we're not going to introduce any infection to the salmon farm. So but yeah, I was really surprised. It's counterintuitive, but yeah, that's what happens. The weight of 220 bar of pressure inside a cylinder, it causes the cylinder to sink like a fucking rock.
I'm just thinking about something that big, the amount of buoyancy it would have, but I don't know the weight of the tank and everything like that, so I don't know what its atmospheric buoyancy is.
Oh, John, do you know the other useful thing I found for my dive cylinder with the microbore hose on it that I use for filling the rifle, which really does limit how fast the air will come out. It's great for cleaning out the inside of a computer. It really gets that dust moving, and you do know that it is really safe to use in there because you know that it's breathing quality air. No moisture, no nasty nothings in it.
You might have a static issue, like static charge. I would think would be the only thing I'd be afraid of with that.
I don't think so. I mean, the microbore hose is PTFE, and I don't think you're going to get that much of a static charge on it in like half a meter.
Have you ever seen? Have you ever fired off a CO2 extinguisher with one of those big horns on it?
Yeah, I've actually had to use one. I've actually had to use them for real several times.
Actually pick up just evacuated, pick up a hell of a static charge.
Yeah, once when I had to put out a capacitor on a radar unit, and once when my bloody tumble dryer caught fire because the lint inside that you couldn't really get out got onto the heating element, and it caught fire, and there was real smoke coming out of it. So I just stuck the CO2 nozzle in the air inlet and filled the whole machine with CO2 after removing the power. It successfully put the fire out and got very cold. Although I have to admit, at that point, I wasn't really worried about electrostatic charge going into the tumble dryer.
No, that's the least of your problems.
Yeah, I was far more worried about it not being on fire in my kitchen. Because mostly over here in the UK, we end up with the washing machine and tumble dryer in the kitchen, not in some sort of utility room.
What the hell? You guys have to slum like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mine's in my kitchen, but it's in a little utility closet.
Yeah, it's like we also have mostly front-loading washing machines and tumble dryers, not top-loading.
I gotta say, guys, it's quite luxurious having nobody talking over you, and in between people making their points, there's a bit of pause. It's, yeah,
I don't know. Every time you talk, it sounds very muffled to me.
Yeah, mind you, so are you, Ken.
Well, guys, I got to get out of here.
Okay, Blue. I was thinking that I'm going to wrap this up at midnight anyway. If we had,
But yours sounds like it's data.
it's a pleasure.
Now I'm in a shit area, so.
It's a pleasure as always, Blue.
Enjoyed talking with you.
I think he's gone.
Oh. He said goodbye and disappeared. Didn't even wait for the accolades.
Thanks again, Alan.
Okay, I'm done with my hour-and-a-half commute.
That'll be why your connection's so bad, Kent. You're in the car moving, aren't you?
Yep, about an hour and a half around this time of day.
Yeah, that can make for some patchy internet speeds.
Yeah, I've got I'm talking with the engineer who's designing the area. He's got about 5 areas that I go through that suck on my ride home. It's funny though, they work good for voice, but terrible for data. But it's got to do with station.
I mean, the village I'm in here, we do get mobile phone connections, data and voice. But the bigger village, which is a couple of miles from here where I used to live, where all the facilities are, that has got pretty much zero mobile phone coverage anywhere in it for some odd reason, even though there are towers.
God, I mean, I think in the UK that there would be ubiquitous coverage.
Yeah, well, not if you live in what is a rural. Mobile phone systems in the UK have 99% coverage of the population.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much reason to go out and cover up a field of sheep. I have the same problem when I'm building my network. But, we, the people that we cover in Virginia and Virginia, North Carolina, and West Virginia, that's about the size of the UK.
Yeah.
And, but we're only covering, like 8 million people. I think they can afford to put some coverage in those shitty areas.
Yeah.
With 4 million people paying for it.
Looks like it's raining up in Scotland.
What's the population in England? It's about 44 million, right?
No, it's about 60 for the whole of the UK.
Okay.
About 5.5 million of that is in Scotland. I think about 2 million of it is in Wales and the rest is in England. Oh, and probably the same amount as Wales in Northern Ireland. No, a bit less than Wales in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, we got about 6 million in Scotland.
Has it gone up? I remember when it was IndieRef and they said it was about 5.5.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
Stupid thing about population is it keeps changing.
Well, yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? People come, people go.
I remember factoids at some point in history. So I'm dead right about 44 million. I just don't know what year it's from.
Oh, don't. Just before I came in here, I was having a quick chat with Terry Davies and the Aussies in Discord, and Peter Harrington made a comment that made me laugh while I had a big mouthful of tea that was half swallowed. It actually really came out my fucking nose. Because I kept my mouth shut so I didn't spit it all over my desk. But the back pressure from the laugh was enough to push it out my nostrils.
I like spicy foods, and I mean serious spicy, that would kill most people. And but I don't like when it's in my nose. And my daughter made me laugh one time when I had a big old gob of wasabi I was swallowing. And I blew that right out my nose. That was horrific.
Oh my god, that makes milky tea. That makes milky tea seem relatively painless.
All right, I gotta go. My wife will be mad if I'm talking to the about this subject at home.
Yeah, I can understand.
Doesn't mean I won't be back, but
oh no,
I gotta take some time off to greet her.
You know, before we all sign off, I see that Schrodinger is still on the chat. Maybe he's not next to his computer or whatever. It'd be good to hear what he might have to say about the what's occurred over the last few years.
Oh, okay, I don't know. All right, have a good one.
Yeah, okay, Ken. Have a good one, mate.
No, he's not there.
No, I think Schrodinger's well away from the computer at the moment. And I'm guessing, oh, he's left.
Oh.
Damn, he left. I'm guessing Rumpus is asleep at the computer. I nearly fell asleep myself, actually, in my chair. But that's quite common for me. And
But yeah, I'm gonna sign off myself again, Alan. It's great that you managed to host the Jose's flip flop.
It's allowing me to get my money's worth out of my new fiber broadband.
Yeah, well, it's all good. All good. But yeah, nice talking to you guys, and I'm going to go to my bed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you guys.
Okay, John. Speak to you again soon, I think.
Cheers.
Okay then. I guess that is it for this evening, and I will end the stream now. So good night to everybody in YouTube land. Since we do still seem to have 9 watching, that's pretty damn good. Thank you all, and good night.